Chapter 76. Greenery Town is a green town. Although it is not big, it has a population of hundreds of thousands. The reason why a town can be so prosperous is not only due to the unique fresh air and recuperation environment here, but also due to two buildings. The venue of the gorgeous competition and the battle club. Alas, it's a pity that the next gorgeous competition in Greenery Town will be held in 3 months. By then, I must have left here. Hei-Yu looked at the rows of houses in front of him and couldn't help but speed up his pace. After crossing a wind-blown plateau with the smell of green grass, a handsome black-haired boy appeared at the gate of Greenery Town, followed by a cute Eevee. Hei-Yu immediately found the Pokémon Center of Greenery Town, which was not far from the gate, as if it was for passing trainers to rest. "Hello, welcome to the Pokémon Center." A gentle and enthusiastic female voice sounded, and Miss Joy standing at the front desk said with a smile. When Hei-Yu saw this familiar face, he couldn't help but feel dazed and said, "Hello, Miss Joy, please help me to register for residence." Looking at the lobby of the entire Pokémon Center, he found that it was undoubtedly much worse than the Pokémon Centers in the previous 2 cities. After all, it is just a Pokémon Center in a small town. Not only does it not have a battlefield, but even some public facilities are very backward. Hei-Yu thought thoughtfully. After putting all the luggage in the room, Hei-Yu walked out of the Pokémon Center as soon as possible. He couldn't wait to come to the destination of this trip, the Battle Club. The Battle Club in front of him has the largest flow of people in the entire Green Town, even more than the Pokémon Center. Hei-Yu stood at the gate and looked at the slogan above. "Come and see the battle here, feast your eyes." Hei-Yu suddenly heard a noisy cheer from the club. He pushed the door open and entered, and a strong and warm atmosphere came to his face. In the hall, countless people were moving around, merchants were selling goods, people were in the audience seats, and some rich people were betting. The green town outside is so cold, but it's so lively inside. After a simple observation, Hei-Yu found that most of the people betting were old people wearing gorgeous clothes. It seems that the reason why this group of wealthy businessmen chose to settle in Green Town, in addition to the fresh environment here, is probably for profit. Hei-Yu found a chair in a corner, sat down and began to look through the library of Chinjua Gym. It turns out that the Battle Club is a lower-level industry in the Battle Development Zone. No wonder it is so lively. It turns out that there is capital behind it. The Battle Development Zone is a special facility located in the Fengyuan region. The Battle Development Zone in each region is headed by several powerful pioneers. The strength of each of these people is not inferior to the owners of each gym. I remember that Yumi Hoshino said that the family behind him was one of the shareholders of the Battle Development Zone in the past. Hei-Yu inexplicably thought of the fat man on the pirate ship. At this moment, the entire battle club suddenly burst into cheers. It turned out that the battle on the ring had decided the winner. This not only represents the duel between the two players, but also the interests represented by countless dignitaries who bet on both players. Some people gain money, and naturally some people lose money. Hei-Yu stood up and walked to the registration office, and said to the busy staff, "Hello, I want to sign up for the primary ring. Fill in your name and the Pokémons participating in the battle." The staff member did not even raise his head and took out a list and put it on the table. After Hei-Yu filled in the name of the Pokémon, he quietly waited for the staff to handle it. Not long after, Hei-Yu's information was entered into the database of the Battle Club, and he also got a card representing his identity. "Go directly to the self-service machine over there to apply for a battle." The staff member's expression eased slightly when he saw the identity of a direct trainer provided by Hei-Yu, and he patiently explained. Hei-Yu didn't care much. He had seen this kind of drama of looking at people and serving them dishes countless times. The Battle Club operates a 24-hour non-stop business model. There are 3 levels of battle venues in total: elementary, intermediate, and advanced. The elementary level generally represents Pokémon below level 20, and the registration fee for the elementary arena is 500 alliance coins. As long as you win a game, you can not only get back your registration fee, but also the registration fee of your opponent. And as long as you continue to win, the rewards for each win will be added up. In addition to the registration fee for each player, there are also some precious gifts awarded by the Battle Club. For example, only the battle development area is dedicated to the panacea produced by the team, or some kind of commemorative ball. Of course, the most precious item is the characteristic capsule. As long as you win 10 games in a row in the primary arena and defeat the last defender sent by the fighting club, you can get this $1 million characteristic capsule. It is rumored that the characteristic capsule is an item specially developed by the fighting pioneering area, and there is no channel to buy it from the outside world. In addition, there is a prize pool, all of which are drawn from the bet money as a prize pool. Every consecutive win will give you an extra 20,000 alliance coins. Heiyu's eyes were shining, and he was eager to try. The registration fee is 500, and as long as you win a game, you will have the opportunity to get at least 20,000 alliance coins and a bunch of souvenirs worth thousands of dollars. It is precisely relying on this model that the fighting club can be popular in towns in various regions. Not to mention the characteristic capsule worth millions of alliance coins after 10 consecutive wins. In addition, this place also attracted a large number of dignitaries and gamblers to come and bet, thus making the fighting club even more popular. Heiyu was not in a hurry to sign up for the competition, but first walked around several arenas and carefully observed the ongoing battles. I didn't expect that there were people from the Alliance participating here. Heiyu bought a ticket and sat down in the audience. He found that the word Alliance was printed on the seat. During the entire battle, in addition to the cheers from the surrounding audience, the command voices of the trainers on the field were drowned in the cheers. I have to admit that this battle club is very good at grasping people's psychology. In addition to playing some exciting music at the critical moment of the battle rules here are different from the regular battles of the Alliance. They even allow a certain degree of killing and bloody violence. The explanation given by the battle club is also very straightforward. The battle between Pokémon is not a child's play, and casualties are common. Therefore, for most ordinary people, such battles are full of excitement, and many people choose to come here to watch after get off work. In addition, since the fighting club is open 24 hours a day, they can make a lot of money just from ticket revenue. Chapter 77. Kadara lost his ability to fight, and Circle Bear won. Let us congratulate Giant Bear for his 6 consecutive wins. The prize pool has accumulated to 120,000 alliance coins, and he has received a special reward from our club. As the host's announcement rang out, the whole audience cheered again. Of course, there were a few wailing sounds, and Heiyu guessed that it was likely that the bet was lost. It must be said that this battle was indeed very enjoyable to watch. The level of the Pokémons in the intermediate arena was generally above level 30. Heiyu's Iron Claw Lobster and Megalodon Shark were at this level, so he had the most insight into the changes in the situation on the field. But it was really bloody. Heiyu said with some sighs, that Kadara was lifted up and smashed down by Circle Bear, and then suffered several consecutive blows from fighting skills. 4 times restraint is no joke. Kadara's outer steel armor was deformed by the beating, and it was obviously seriously injured. Haha, that teddy bear is not bad, it is really good at attacking, as expected, attack is the best defense. A bad boy with a mohawk hairstyle next to Heiyu commented on the battle on the field. He didn't sit quietly in his seat like others, but squatted with a pokeball in his hand, dressed like a street gangster. Heiyu heard the words of the bad boy next to him, and he became interested, so he said, offense is indeed very important, but defense cannot be ignored. But who knows, the bad boy seemed to be unconvinced, so he retorted, what do you know, only offense is the best defense, full attack. 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 The bad boy stood directly on the seat, waving the pokeball, cheering for the ongoing game on the ring. Heiyu was in no mood to argue with the other party, because his game was about to start, so he stood up and left the audience. The bad boy just now looked at Heiyu's back with some curiosity, and left the spectator seat of the intermediate ring after thinking about it. Following Heiyu, we came to the audience seats of the primary battle arena. The next match is between the new player nicknamed Heitian and the wolf player. I don't know if there are often people from the gray area who come to participate in the competition, so the real name system is not adopted, but nicknames are allowed. Heiyu was also happy about this, so he simply took a nickname. In fact, nicknames mostly represent the characteristics of the player's Pokémons. For example, the representative Pokémon of the opponent wolf player is a big wolfhound. Heiyu slowly walked into the dim player channel, and was greeted by sky-high shouts and exciting music. Even if the battle has not started, the atmosphere alone is enough to make people excited, and this is just the lowest level of the primary arena. Looking at the crowded auditorium and thinking about the odds of the bets for this match, Heiyu thought to himself, no matter who wins or loses in the match, the organizer will never lose money. Heiyu picked up a mask and put it on in the player channel. The fighting club did not seem to care about the true identity of the players, but rather protected them a little. This made Heiyu smell something unusual. It felt a bit like walking in a grey area. Please help me bet all these 10W Alliance coins, I win. Hey Yu took out a stack of Alliance coins and handed it to the staff member who was in charge of the player's entourage. There is a special betting table for players in the club. Hey Yu took a casual look and saw the odds of 4 to 1. Because the wolf player on the stage has won 3 games in a row, he is a relatively famous player in the primary arena. And Hey Yu is a newcomer and a nobody, as the host said. The upper limit of the bet in the primary stage is 100,000 Alliance coins, and Hey Yu has already maxed it out. The staff who placed the bets looked at Hey Yu in surprise. After all, it is rare to see such a confident rookie player. At the same time, there was a trace of doubt in his heart. Wouldn't this person be playing a fake match? You know, in previous competitions, there was a precedent of 2 players colluding together, placing crazy bets, and then playing a fake match in an attempt to gain benefits from it. Needless to say, the final outcome was naturally not much to say. After being discovered by the organizer, it was exposed on the spot and then kicked out of the battle club. However, no one has seen the 2 players since then. What the end is, of course, is self-evident. The maximum bet is only 100,000 Alliance coins? That's right, if there is a master who comes to challenge the primary stage and bets hundreds of millions of crazy bets, wouldn't it be a big profit? Hey Yu thought secretly in his heart, and at the same time complained that the organizer really didn't give any loopholes. Walking out of the players' competition, the dim lights suddenly became bright, and a huge square arena appeared in front of them. It was a very ordinary battlefield. It seemed that in order to save costs, the organizer did not prepare multiple venues similar to the league competition. There was no water field, ice field, or grass field. The evil wolf players participating in this battle have won 3 consecutive victories, and his big wolfhound still maintains good physical strength. If he wins again this time, his bonus will increase by 20,000 league coins again, up to 80,000, and at the same time, he will get a higher level of mysterious gifts. The host said the tempting words, and the whole audience cheered again. There were countless banknotes accumulated in the machine on the side. This kind of naked temptation of showing money greatly increased the enthusiasm of the players for the game. At the same time, it can also serve as a gimmick to attract more audiences. It's not only because the evil wolf players injured their opponents in every game, which seemed violent, bloody, and full of excitement. It's also because of the higher level of mysterious gifts. After all, the value of such gifts is often not very low. Someone once opened an evolution stone in it. In order to show fairness, the official will let the players open the gift box on the spot. This kind of unknown expectation will always attract attention. Everyone likes to watch the opening of blind boxes. Evil wolf! Evil wolf! Evil wolf! Tear up your enemies! Evil wolf, come on, 4 consecutive wins! Facing the enthusiastic cheers of the audience, a tall and thin man wearing a brutal mask walked out slowly. At the same time, he kept waving to the people in the audience, with a slight smile on his lips, as if he was enjoying the feeling of being the center of attention. Hey Yu looked at the overwhelming enthusiasm in the audience, almost all of them were cheering for the opponent. Next, let us welcome another player, Hey Tian. This is a new player, and the Pokémon he signed up for is Dark Crow, a relatively rare Pokémon. Who will win this evil duel? The host's tone was a little cold, and when introducing Hey Yu's nickname Hey Tian, his enthusiasm was obviously reduced, and there was even a hint of sarcasm in his words. As expected, the entire audience booed. You mock me just to stir up the audience's emotions. Hey Yu was speechless. Chapter 78. Hey Yu walked around the audience and suddenly saw a familiar person in the crowd, the bad boy who sat next to him in the audience of the intermediate arena. The other party's red hair was too conspicuous, especially the mohawk hairstyle, which stood out in the crowd. The bad boy looked at Hey Yu with a half-smile, and the two looked at each other, and a familiar feeling rose in their hearts. Bold, crazy. Interesting, is it a bad duel? The bad boy threw the pokeball in his hand up, caught it steadily, and repeated this action. At the same time, he looked at Hey Yu who had just spoken to him with interest, and he had a little interest in giving some advice in his heart. So, will the wolf player who has won 3 consecutive victories keep his arena and win 4 consecutive victories? Or will this new player make a dark horse counterattack? Let's wait and see. The host roared with a red face, using an extremely exaggerated expression to provoke the 2 players to fight, and at the same time, raised the audience's expectations to the highest level. He Yu and his opponent stood up at the same time, stepped onto the steps, and stared at each other from a distance on the ring. This match is a one-on-one Pokémon battle, with a level cap of 20, until one Pokémon loses its ability to fight or voluntarily surrenders. With the referee's order, He Yu threw out a Pokeball. A flash of white light. Murkrow appeared, flapped its wings, and circled over the ring. Only Eevee and Murkrow can play in the primary ring, and the levels of Crawfish and Megalodon have exceeded the upper limit. He Yu was afraid that Eevee would not be able to adapt to such a noisy scene with thousands of people watching, so he simply sent Murkrow directly. The opponent's Pokémon is, as expected, the well-known Wolfhound. From He Yu's current perspective, the opponent's Wolfhound is bred in a rather ordinary way. Except for its sharp teeth, there is nothing special about it. Ah! As soon as the Wolfhound appeared, it let out a powerful howl and showed a ferocious expression. Intimidation characteristic. Black Feather's mind moved, and he thought of it instantly in his mind. Unfortunately, it has no effect on the crow-like Pokémons who are insidious, cunning, cruel, and bloodthirsty. After all, after experiencing the battle in the Kalu Tunnel, Murkrow's character has long been tempered to be extremely tough. Black Feather's mouth corner hidden under the mask pulled, and commanded, Murkrow should bless himself with the tailwind first. Murkrow, who was fighting in front of so many people for the first time, felt a little uncomfortable, but after hearing the words of the trainer, he still took action quickly. A few breezes appeared on the surface of the body, and one of them penetrated into the body, and Murkrow's speed was rapidly increased. The opponent saw that his usual intimidation effect had lost its effect, and he also felt a little uneasy. After all, he specially trained the Wolfhound in this aspect. He was able to achieve 3 consecutive victories, and he also relied on this characteristic to gain a great advantage. Big Wolfhound, roar loudly! The evil wolf player saw that Murkrow was getting faster and faster, and hurriedly gave orders. The big Wolfhound opened its bloody mouth again, and there were traces of blood between its sharp wolf teeth, which seemed to be left by the Pokémons of the previous opponent. An extremely unpleasant roar was heard, and the dark brown sound waves attacked Murkrow in the air. He Yu continued to command, use scare. Murkrow suddenly made a loud roar, although the momentum of this sound was not as loud as the big Wolfhound's roar. However, this roar affected the entire audience in the audience, and they covered their ears. Big Wolfhound, don't be afraid of it, use the loud roar again. The evil wolf player was a little panicked at this moment. Although the big Wolfhound did not suffer any injuries in the previous 3 games, it also lost some physical strength. At the moment, the game seemed to be extremely unfavorable to him. Facing the flying Murkrow, the Wolfhound had no long-range attack skills at all. The biting skills that he was best at could not attack, so he could only use loud roaring. At this moment, big drops of sweat appeared on the head of the evil wolf player. Obviously, facing this situation, he was powerless. But what He Yu said next made him feel a little happy. Dark Crow, after flying upwards, dive and use wings to attack. He Yu's voice without any emotion came from under the mask. The opponent actually wanted to fight him head-on in close combat? The wolf was instantly ecstatic and commanded, the Wolfhound rushed over and bit it to pieces. Both Pokémons were accumulating power to complete this attack. The Dark Crow flew up to the sky at a high speed, and a few breezes around its body penetrated into its body, and the wind blessing reached the maximum state. Diving down, a black shadow quickly passed by. The Wolfhound had a resolute look in his eyes. The evil energy between its fangs kept surging. But before it could finish biting and charging, Murkrow had already appeared in front of it, and it was so fast that it had no time to react. Under the horrified eyes of the big Wolfhound, Murkrow's wings passed along its body, and in a trance, the big Wolfhound saw a pair of bloodthirsty eyes. But before it could react, the pain in its body instantly spread throughout its body. The big Wolfhound stumbled and fell to the ground, screaming and shouting instantly, and the piercing pain made it faint directly. But the attack was still not over. Under the cold and ruthless command of He Yu, Murkrow turned around and attacked with his wings again. This is He Yu's combat code. When the enemy shows signs of decline, you must attack madly. The big Wolfhound fainted completely, and the originally silent audience instantly burst into cheers again. But this time they were cheering for He Tian. The masked wolf slowly raised his arm, took out the Pokeball to retrieve the Wolfhound, and left the ring with a face full of reluctance. Now this ring no longer belongs to him. Just like when he defeated others and won cheers, now the cheers of the entire venue belong to He Tian. Before entering the passage, Wolf reluctantly glanced at the money in the bonus pool, and a trace of regret emerged in his heart. If he had not been greedy and chose to fight another game, the 60,000 alliance coins accumulated from the 3 consecutive wins and a mysterious gift would have been his. It's a pity that people are always greedy, and they want more after getting it. The game is over. Let us congratulate Black Sky for successfully defeating his opponent, seizing this ring, and becoming the new champion. At the same time, the gift pool will increase by 20,000 alliance coins. Does Black Sky choose to continue the challenge? If he wins, the prize money for the next game will accumulate to 40,000 alliance coins. The host is trying his best to mobilize Heiyu's emotions, trying to make him choose to continue the battle. At the same time, there was a shout from the audience. 20,000 alliance coins may be a small amount for Heiyu, but for most ordinary people who don't raise Pokémon and don't become trainers, that's their salary for several months. The greed and jealousy in their hearts were aroused, and they cheered and asked Heiyu to continue to accept the battle. Win! Win! Keep winning! When the bonus accumulates to a very high number, lose it all in one game. The audience always likes to see the players lose the bonus after failure, and their faces are full of regret. The ugliness in people's hearts is revealed at this moment. Chapter 79. When Heiyu was asked by the host whether he would continue to fight, he quickly answered, "Yes, I choose to continue to defend the ring." Heiyu's answer was in line with the expectations of the audience, so it quickly ignited the whole audience. As the player who defeated Evil Wolf, Heiyu inherited all his cheers as expected. Hei Tian! Hei Tian! Hei Tian! Hei Tian! Hei Tian! Heiyu called Murkrow to fly to his shoulder, then slowly walked down the ring and walked towards the player channel. The system of the battle club has begun to match Heiyu with a new opponent. In the dim channel, Murkrow standing on Heiyu's shoulder made a hoarse cry. "Ga ga!" Heiyu gently stroked Murkrow's body, took out a small energy block from his sleeve, and let Murkrow recover his strength. In fact, Murkrow did not try his best in the battle just now, and was not injured. He just used a few skills and consumed some energy. It will recover soon, but now Murkrow has obviously entered a bloody and belligerent state. This is the nature of crow Pokémons. Well done, Murkrow. Remember the feeling of using the tailwind just now. Even in the battle, you must maintain the acceleration state, and strive to assist more teammates after you become proficient. Heiyu turned his head and encouraged Murkrow in a low voice. Although he placed a lot of bets and was eager for rewards, it was more important to hone the Pokémon's fighting skills in battle. As for money, it would be very good if he could earn some extra money without delaying the training of Pokémons. After going to the staff's betting table and receiving the quadrupled reward, 40W Alliance coins continued to arrive. Please ask the Black Sky player to go to the competition arena. Please ask the Black Sky player to go to the competition arena. Before Heiyu rested for a few minutes, a new game came again. This is the charm of the arena game. Only continuous battles can stimulate the potential of the Pokémons, which is what Heiyu expected. After taking a look at the high-spirited Murkrow, Heiyu put on his mask again and walked out of the passage with firm steps. He took a look at the odds of the betting. It has become normal data. Heiyu simply didn't want to bet. In the battle just now, he had already shown his outstanding strength, and it was reasonable for the club to adjust the odds. In the primary arena, Heiyu's strength is already the top one. The opponent in the second game doesn't seem to be from the Hone region. The accent of the opponent is a bit like the Sinnoh region. The opponent's Pokémon is also the home bird of the Sinnoh region Mook. The two sides staged an aerial chase battle on the arena. The two Pokémon staggered like lightning, making the audience unable to look away. Only two figures, one black and one grey, were seen chasing each other in the air. Murkrow always dominated with the blessing of the tailwind. Heiyu naturally would not give the opponent any breathing space. Dark Crow, chase him! Dark Crow quickly appeared beside Mook, raised one wing, and slapped it hard. The power of the evil system is quite good. Moreover, it is completely crushed in terms of racial value. No cut. Mook was hit hard and fell to the low altitude, falling on the ring, raising thick smoke. Black Feather said coldly, "Don't give him a chance, use wings to attack." Dark Crow remembered the teachings of the trainer. When the enemy showed a decline, he should pursue the victory and not give the enemy a chance to breathe. As the milky white energy slid across the ground like a tide, the breeze around Dark Crow seemed to have received some instructions and quickly blew away the thick smoke. At this time, the unconscious Mook was lying on the ring in a twisted posture. The originally bright and beautiful feathers became dull, and the wounds on the body continued to ooze blood, dyeing the ring a dark red. The feathers scattered around were like silent testimony, showing everyone how badly the Mook bird was hurt. However, facing such a cruel scene, the audience around did not show any mercy. On the contrary, their eyes were shining with excitement and enthusiasm. It was such a fierce battle that they were looking for bloody, violent, and exciting. Now, let us congratulate Haishan for winning 2 consecutive victories. His bonus has accumulated to an astonishing 40,000 yuan, and there is a more precious mysterious gift waiting for him. The host's excited voice sounded. Then, a large stack of banknotes suddenly appeared in the bonus pool on the side. It formed a spectacular scene. This visual impact, like a sharp sword, severely stimulated everyone in the audience. Countless audiences cheered excitedly, their faces flushed with excitement, waving placards in their hands, shouting slogans, and the whole scene was lively. Ga! The dark crow flew to Heiyu's shoulder and made a cheerful cry. Dark crow, you did a good job, but don't underestimate your opponent too much. The next game will be more difficult. Heiyu looked up at the host and continued to choose to participate in the battle. It was not easy to defend the ring and win 10 consecutive victories. Not to mention that it was not easy to get the characteristic capsule. Once 10 consecutive victories, the ring battle will start. Only by winning the ring battle can you get the characteristic capsule worth millions. As expected, as the battles passed, the enemy became stronger and stronger, and the dark crows became more and more difficult to fight. Heiyu's winning streak soon reached 9 consecutive victories. At this time, Murkrow had several wounds on his body, and his messy feathers were mixed with wet blood. This competition system cannot heal the Pokémons at all, or restore their physical strength. At the same time, Heiyu's prize money has accumulated to 180,000 alliance coins. Hey! As long as we win the 10th game, we can temporarily seal the game, at least we don't have to face the final arena battle in this state. Heiyu secretly breathed a sigh of relief, but this 10th game was still difficult. The opponent is also a master who has achieved 8 consecutive wins, and the Pokémon level is also at the limit of the primary arena, level 20. The most important thing is that the enemy's Pokémon comes from the giant claw mantis in the Kanto region. Although the opponent's Pokémon still consumes physical strength, there is only 1 wound on the leg on his body. On the other hand, Murkrow has many abrasions and scratches on his body. After spraying the wound medicine spray on Murkrow's wound, Heiyu asked softly, "How is it, Murkrow, are you sure?" The matchmaking mechanism of the game is controlled by the organizer, so it is normal to choose a strong player for the opponent. After all, the opponent's giant claw mantis obviously used the metal membrane to evolve in advance, consuming its potential in advance. Although it can be exchanged for powerful combat power in a short period of time, it is extremely unfavorable for the future development of the Pokémons. On the contrary, if the organizer does not choose to stop him here, Heiyu will be worried and think that the opponent will play some tricks in secret. After all, he doesn't care about the 200,000 prize pool at all. The only thing he cares about is the highest level mysterious gift package obtained after 10 consecutive wins. Just now during the break, he also checked what treasures those who have achieved 10 consecutive wins in the past have opened. Most of them are Pokémon props, evolution stones, and the like. Each one is worth tens of thousands of alliance coins, not to mention that after 10 consecutive wins, you can also apply for a ring battle. The characteristic capsules obtained after the victory are the real peerless treasures. I am not afraid of you playing with me openly, even if your cards are very strong, I am afraid of you playing insidiously. It is easy to dodge an open spear, but it is hard to guard against an arrow from the dark. Heiyu asked about the odds of this game. I don't know whether the organizer always expands the scale of the entire betting market in order to make more profits or for some other reason. The upper limit of the player's bet has reached 500,000. Heiyu was moved and chose to bet 500,000 alliance coins. Chapter 80. Murkrow narrowed his eyes, and the cool feeling on the wound made him feel a little pain. At the same time, a pair of sharp eyes filled with scarlet eyes swept towards the giant mantis on the opposite side. Ga! The feathers of Murkrow exploded instantly, and it chirped excitedly. Black Feather smiled slightly, a hint of madness flashed in his eyes, and he said excitedly, "Yes, that's the feeling, Murkrow, breaking out of the cocoon in despair, and making progress in danger." Black Feather looked into Murkrow's eyes at this moment, and reached a certain resonance. "Now let's invite the contestants." Black Feather calmed down, took a deep breath, and slowly walked onto the stage with a calm look. The opponent also happened to look at him, with a hint of contempt in his solemn eyes, especially when he looked at Black Feather's delicate skin. He instantly judged in his heart that the man in front of him was definitely not very old. However, Black Feather was slightly surprised that the man on the opposite side did not choose to wear a mask. At the referee's command, both sides released their Pokémons. Murkrow and Mantis stared at each other with sharp eyes. Mantis, use Bullet Punch. At the beginning, Mantis's signature skill Bullet Punch was used, which made Hayu doubt whether its characteristics were technical masters. Everything needs to be tested in the next game. Murkrow, Tailwind. A breeze emerged and surrounded Murkrow. Murkrow in the sky dodged the Bullet Punch of Mantis, jumping up with a sideways move. Mantis is worthy of the name of Red Lightning. When using Bullet Punch, the speed is not slow at all, and the jumping power is extremely terrifying. Mantis, move close at high speed and use continuous slash. Hearing this, Mantis nodded slightly, stepped on the ground instantly, and in a few moments, it had crossed half of the ring. When moving at high speed, the speed is not inferior to Murkrow at all. Ignore him, use the Tailwind to pull him. Murkrow uses Wind. Although the insect system restrains the evil system, the flying system is resistant to the insect system. This is one of the reasons why Black Feather decided to choose Murkrow at the beginning, which is considered a joint defense point. The Pokémons of both sides quickly launched an attack. The giant claw Mantis relied on high-speed movement to chase the Murkrow in front. Unfortunately, the Murkrow with the Tailwind was not slow. When flying, do not forget to use your wings to fan out a series of wind attacks. The audience can only see a red lightning and a black shadow, constantly chasing between the venues, and can't see the face of the Pokémons at all. However, such a wonderful battle, the audience still has adrenaline soaring, and with the exciting music, the blood is surging, and waves of cheers burst out again. At the same time, the organizer finally reminded that the betting time is about to end, trying to lure the audience to consume again. The Battle Development Zone group behind the Battle Club undoubtedly knows how to control people's hearts and knows how to make profits. In the previous matches, Black Feather won in succession. With the previous odds, even if he placed a big bet, he would not make any money. But this match was different. A master who won 8 consecutive games and a master who won 9 consecutive games collided. In the primary arena, it was undoubtedly the top battle. Therefore, countless wealthy businessmen and dignitaries were betting money. The two Pokémons collided quickly, but as time passed, their speed slowly decreased. High-speed movement is originally a psychic move. It is already very difficult for Mantis to master it, let alone use it continuously. But Murkrow, who has the characteristic of mischief, can use Tailwind again. Use Scare after Murkrow Tailwind. A loud bang came from the sky, and Mantis covered his ears with his pliers in pain, but the brief tinnitus still made him slightly distracted. Good opportunity, Murkrow, take the opportunity to use Pecking Drill. Murkrow instantly rotated his body and dived down, his beak became sharp, and flashed a silver-white light. Even though he was not very skilled in this move, with the help of the Tailwind and the force of the dive, Murkrow was like a meteor, falling towards Mantis at a very fast speed. Mantis, use Hold. The man on the opposite side was a little anxious. Obviously, when Hold was forced out in the game, it meant that the battle had reached a fever pitch. Mantis, use Metal Claw. The huge fist instantly turned into a steel-like luster and smashed towards Murkrow fiercely. But how could Murkrow do as he wished? After failing to hit it and being blocked by Hold, he flapped his wings and fled backwards at a very fast speed. With the help of the Tailwind, he narrowly avoided the heavy punch with only half a body. In the initial stage, the racial value really has a great advantage. Hayu looked at the increasingly tense situation and couldn't help sighing in his heart. Mantis has a high of 500 The racial stats, especially the 130 physical attack, forced Hayu to be careful. Once Murkrow was attacked by the opponent, he would definitely be seriously injured. If the opponent had the characteristics of a skilled player, then this attack of the Metal Claw might directly defeat Murkrow. Therefore, Hayu let Murkrow dodge skills constantly, and never dared to fight head-on with skills or close combat. Just as Hayu was thinking about how to break the situation, a stumble of the giant mantis while running in the field caught his attention. Is that the wound on the giant mantis's left leg? Even running was affected, much more serious than it looks. Hayu observed sharply. Murkrow had gone through 9 battles and had indeed consumed his physical strength. but how good could the opponent's 8 consecutive wins be? The left leg of the giant mantis was undoubtedly a flaw. A crazy decision quickly emerged in Heiyu's mind, and he issued an order to Murkrow, who was constantly pulling in the middle of the field. "Murray, attack the left leg of giant mantis, and start the wind." After hearing this, Murray made a gorgeous turn in the air, flapped its wings, and instantly rolled out 2 gusts of wind, one on the left and one on the right, attacking the left leg of giant mantis. "Giant mantis, get out of the way!" The trainer's shout made giant mantis prepare to jump and dodge again despite his fatigue. But the piercing sound that followed made him hold his head in pain. Murray's skills, shocking! There was no time to dodge, and 2 gusts of wind instantly swept giant mantis, and the strong wind force tore the wound on its left leg again. "Giant mantis!" Giant mantis cried out in pain, staggered and knelt on one knee. When he raised his head, a black figure quickly rushed towards him. "Solve the battle!" Murray uses wings to attack. A black shadow passed by, opened its black wings and slapped the left leg of giant mantis fiercely. The intense pain made the giant mantis faint directly, and it fell down with a thump. The whole venue burst into cheers instantly. 10 consecutive wins. It has not happened for nearly half a year. Now the primary stage has welcomed the uncrowned king again. Black Sky and his Murkrow. Heiyu looked at the giant mantis on the stage with pity. The early evolution of the metal film had consumed his potential. In addition, in the previous battle, his left leg had not been treated, and was chased and beaten by his Murkrow. If there was no powerful healing Pokémon, the left leg would be crippled. Even if it was barely cured, it would be disabled and the level would not improve at all in this life. But what does this have to do with me? Heiyu showed a cruel smile at the corner of his mouth, and his eyes flashed with the madness of evil attributes. This scene happened to be seen by the bad boy with a red mohawk in the audience. His eyes flickered slightly, and he looked at Heiyu with a hint of appreciation. "Interesting, this is the look a bad trainer should have." The bad boy put one foot on the seat, attracting angry scolding from the audience, but he didn't care, and still held the Pokeball in his hand. Chapter 81. Mantis has lost its ability to fight, so the winners are Black Sky and his Murkrow. As the referee's voice fell, Mantis's trainer came back to his senses, and endless regret rose in his heart. He had captured Scyther by chance in a forest, and wanted to cultivate it as a main Pokémon, and even found a piece of metal film for this purpose. However, after winning 7 consecutive games, he inevitably became greedy for the mysterious gift of 10 consecutive wins. This made Scyther evolve early and consumed its potential. Originally thought that with Mantis, he could win 10 consecutive wins steadily, but he didn't expect to lose to a kid who seemed to be young at this moment. After he left the field sadly, only Black Feather was left in the center of the entire venue, enjoying the audience's pursuit and enthusiasm. 10 consecutive wins. The audience who had been watching Heiyu's game since the first game roared the loudest, and the host began to award Heiyu. In addition to the 200,000 bonus pool, the most important thing was the mysterious gift. "Now let's invite Heitian to open the mysterious gift package in public." The host began to preach a long paragraph of nonsense and award declaration, trying to attract more audiences to buy tickets to watch. After all, this is a mysterious gift package for 10 consecutive wins. The cheers in the audience became more enthusiastic. Heiyu took the exquisite gift box from a sexy girl, took a deep breath, and slowly opened it. "A stone as dark as the night." Dark stone. Heiyu raised his eyebrows and was slightly surprised. "It seems that the organizer behind the scenes intends to befriend me." He knows that Dark Crow needs a dark stone to evolve, but the quality of the evolution stone in front of him seems to be only intermediate. Dark Crow needs a dark stone to evolve into Crowhead. Heiyu planned to go to the black market in the next big city to buy it. Since Murkrow's level was not high, he was not in a hurry. "I didn't expect to get one here, but the quality seemed not high, only intermediate. Generally, the quality of evolution stones below 60 is called low grade. The purity of 60 to 90 is called intermediate, and the purity of 90 or above is called high grade." As the camera slowly zoomed in, the true face of the mysterious gift package that Heiyu got was revealed on the big screen. One evolution stone undoubtedly ignited the enthusiasm of the entire audience again. Even if it was just an ordinary evolution stone, it was worth hundreds of thousands, enough to replace the salary of most people for decades. In addition to the 200,000 alliance coins reward in the bonus pool, Heiyu earned nearly 1 million alliance coins in just one afternoon and 10 games. Not to mention that Heiyu can apply for another ring battle later. As long as you win, you can get the Peerless Treasure, the characteristic capsule, which can forcibly reverse the genes of the Pokémons and change their characteristics. Seeing the eager look in the eyes of Murkrow on his shoulder, Hayu hurriedly covered the gift box. Murkrow was not ready to evolve yet. After taking a look at the cheering audience, Hayu walked down the stage and entered the player channel. Perhaps the next time he came here, it would be for the stage battle. Hayu went to the gambling table to get back all the 500,000 alliance coins he bet, plus the 500,000 alliance coins he won. Hayu had won 400,000 by betting before, and in this afternoon's game, he earned nearly 1 million by betting alone. Not to mention there was an evolution stone. Just as Hayu was about to count his gains and was overjoyed, a staff member suddenly came forward and said, "Sir, a spectator just asked me to give you this manual." Hayu subconsciously took the manual in his hand and asked, "Manual? Excuse me, do you know the name of that guest? What information did he leave?" Hayu looked puzzled. The staff seemed to be very busy and left quickly after leaving only one sentence. "That audience member asked me to tell you that evil is the best attribute, and offense is the best defense." Hayu recalled this sentence in his mind, thinking about it, until he saw the colorful manual that was altered in his hand, and then he suddenly realized it. Isn't this what the bad boy in the audience just said? Hayu still had a deep impression of the bad boy, especially the other party's red mohawk hairstyle was very eye-catching. But what does it mean that he left a manual for himself? Hayu was puzzled, and after slowly opening the manual, he found that it was about the cultivation method of evil Pokémons. Attack is the best defense. The beauty of evil, the aesthetics of evil. Evil Pokémons are generally representatives of cruelty and ferocity, but they generally have a kind of madness in their hearts. Whether the power is strong or not depends on whether it can be guided out. You can speak freely, because power is justice. Hanazuki. Kuroya was confused. He could barely understand some of the content, but he didn't understand most of it. He finished the thin booklet very quickly. Just when he was about to throw it away, the name at the end of the message on the last page caught his attention. Hanazuki. The name seemed to be female, but when he thought about the person's dress and the content of the booklet in front of him, a person suddenly appeared in Kuroya's mind. Hanazuki, the evil 4 heavenly kings of the Hone region. Kuroya hurriedly searched for information on the internet, but because there was less information circulating on the internet, he didn't find many useful clues. So Kuroya opened the library of Chinjua Dojo, hoping to find more information about the 4 heavenly kings there. After searching for a while, he finally found some precious information and photos in a book. Looking at the photo that looked exactly like the bad boy, Kuroya was shocked. Could it be, the person who just argued with me is one of the 4 heavenly kings? The image of the bad boy with a gangster-like face and arrogant attitude in the audience instantly appeared in Hayu's mind. Hayu couldn't help but feel surprised that he was so lucky to meet one of the 4 heavenly kings. However, just when Hayu was about to turn back to look for the bad boy, the primary arena where he was suddenly entered the intermission stage, and a large number of spectators poured out like a tide, and Hayu was submerged in the crowd. Although Hayu tried hard to squeeze out, he was helpless because the flow of people was too turbulent and he could not get out. As time passed, night gradually fell, and Hayu finally had no choice but to give up the search and dragged his tired body back to the Pokémon Center, still full of doubts and shock in his heart. Lying on the bed, Hayu's mind was still a little dazed, and it was hard to believe that he actually met a 4 heavenly king up close. And what made him even more unbelievable was that he refuted the other party. Does Huayu Tianwang believe in extreme offense? Hayu muttered. Hayu slumped on the bed, unable to understand why one of the 4 heavenly kings would dress up as a bad boy. So every heavenly king and champion has a side job? Investigator, archaeologist, actor, and a stone digger. Chapter 82. On the outskirts of Green City, a silver-blue tent was set up here, and a bonfire was lit next to it, which seemed to indicate that someone was camping here. Dark Crow, use the drill. At Hayu's command, the Dark Crow's beak instantly became sharp, flashing with sharp silver light, and its body spun rapidly, like a drill. A black shadow flashed by and rushed directly towards the tree. As the sharp beak pierced into the tree trunk, a touch of milky white resin flowed out of it, exuding the fragrance of the tree. Not bad, Dark Crow, you are getting more and more proficient in this inherited skill. As the main attack method of the future flying system, you must practice diligently. Hayu stepped forward to praise Dark Crow and fed it an energy block to restore its physical strength. Now Black Feather is training in the suburbs. The reason why he appeared in the suburbs is that there is no training ground in the Pokémon Center of Green Town. Compared with those big cities, this place is still very backward. So she had no choice but to come to the suburbs for training, but the little Eevee seemed to like it very much, especially the fresh air. Eevee. The sun was shining, the breeze was blowing, and the little Eevee was jumping and playing on the lawn, rolling around, and was in a world of joy. However, all this happened after she completed the basic training. Once the training was over, the little Eevee immediately turned on the bad mode and threw away the order of Kuriko to train hard. The little Eevee glanced at the master trainer who was concentrating on guiding Murkrow's training, and a trace of unhappiness flashed in his heart. Pouting her little mouth, with an angry expression on her face, that extremely cute look made people want to pinch it. The jealous little Eevee cast his eyes on the big brother Iron Claw who was working hard to train Dragon Dance, and a trace of grievance surged in his heart. It seemed that everyone was busy and had no time to play with her. Little Eevee, who was ignored by everyone, suddenly had a bold idea in his mind. He walked cautiously towards the depths of the forest with a cunning look in his eyes. The arena challenge after 10 consecutive wins against the club can be sealed, so there is no rush to challenge for the time being. Hei-Yu looked at the Pokémons who were stepping up their training, and a trace of satisfaction flashed in his heart. In simple terms, the arena challenge was fought by 2 people who had won 10 consecutive games. The winner could get the final reward, the item characteristic capsule. It must be said that the person who could come up with such a competition system was definitely a genius. Not only could half of the reward be saved, but the internal contradictions could also be transferred outward, allowing the 2 trainers to compete with each other. Just as Hei-Yu was thinking, a burst of rapid insect chirping broke his thoughts. He turned his head and saw 3 poisonous powder moths flying greedily towards him. Smelling a hint of unusual smell in the air, Hei-Yu turned his head to look at the trees that were pecked by Murkrow during training. The resin flowing out of the trees exudes an extremely charming fragrance, which seems to have a fatal attraction to Pokémon. No way, I just picked a tree at random, could it be some special material or medicine? Hei-Yu thought to himself. Command the Pokémons to attack and prevent the 3 poisonous powder moths from getting close. Murray, wind up. Megalodon, Iron Claw, use water jet. Eevee, use high speed star. Hei-Yu stood under the shade of the tree and calmly commanded the Pokémons to attack. Soon, the 3 poisonous powder moths were beaten and lost their combat ability and fell to the ground one after another. Go, Pokeball! Hei-Yu threw out 3 Pokeballs in succession and captured them one by one. Approaching the tree, slowly smearing the resin with his fingers, carefully putting it into his mouth to taste it, and only after a long time did the information appear in his mind. Unknown resin, tastes astringent, with weak energy. With the experience of a junior breeder, Hei-Yu quickly judged its general function even if he didn't know the resin. In addition to its fatal attraction to Pokémon, it should also promote the growth of bug-type Pokémon. Well, that's not right. In the past, if there was such a delicious little Eevee, it should have come up first. Hei-Yu instantly realized that something was wrong, including the fact that he did not see the attack of the high-speed star when fighting the poisonous powder moth just now. Turning around, there was no trace of Eevee near the camp. Hei-Yu rushed into the tent, and the little Eevee was not resting inside. A trace of sweat appeared on Hei-Yu's forehead, and he felt a little panic in his heart. After asking the 3 Pokémon, all of them shook their heads, saying that they didn't know where the little Eevee had gone. Hei-Yu quickly commanded, Dark Crow, please look for it in the nearby forest. Hei-Yu searched everywhere in vain. Later, he decided to go to the forest. Before leaving, he ordered Murkrow to search near the camp and not to go too far. Hei-Yu walked quickly in the forest, swinging his arms slightly, rubbing his fingers constantly, and his cold eyes, which had never contained any emotion, rarely fluctuated. Hei-Yu felt a little regretful in his heart. He shouldn't have been too indulgent to the little Eevee in the past, so that he developed such a naughty character. He made up his mind that he must discipline the little Eevee strictly after finding it. Eevee. Just as Hei-Yu was anxiously searching in the jungle, a familiar howl suddenly came from the other side of the forest. Hei-Yu looked over suddenly and exclaimed, It's the cry of the little Eevee. Is she in danger? Without time to think, Hei-Yu hurriedly ran to the source of the sound, and the sweat on his forehead slowly slid down his face and finally dripped on Hei-Yu's shoes. The running speed was getting faster and faster, so that Hei-Yu's chest kept rising and falling. Finally, he rushed to a nearby forest and finally found the figure of the little Eevee. But at this moment, the little Eevee was sitting on the ground and crying aggrievedly, and next to him was a boy wearing an adventure suit and with a cold face. What? It turned out to be a captured Pokémon. The boy looked at the Eevee crying on the ground with disdain and shouted dissatisfiedly. Heiyu walked up slowly with a dark face, came behind Eevee, and knocked his head hard. What are you running around for? Eevee, who found the backbone, didn't care about the messy hair now, and jumped into Heiyu's arms. His furry short hands grabbed Heiyu's clothes and cried loudly. God knows what she just went through. She was hit on the head 7 times by a stranger with a pokeball. I don't know if the other party is a fool. He can't see that she is the owner's Pokémon. The crying of the little Eevee made the scene a little awkward. The cold-blooded boy looked up and down at Heiyu, who was holding Eevee. The cold-blooded boy seemed to have realized that this Eevee, which he had thrown 7 Pokeballs but failed to capture, seemed to have a master Pokémon. And it seemed that Eevee's trainer had come to the door. Hello, my name is Reiji. Chapter 83. Heiyu heard this familiar name, and the person in front of him looked 70% similar to the memory of his previous life, and he was sure in his heart. Shinji's brother. According to the memory in his mind, Heiyu knew that although the other party was from the Sinnoh region, he had traveled to many regions including Kanto, Johto, and Hone. And he had achieved good results in the league competitions, gym challenges, and battle frontiers in these regions. And everything was ruined by the battle in the Age of Gods. A battle directly broke Reiji's heart, and he eventually changed his career to become a breeder and opened a breeding house. Heiyu looked at the cold boy in front of him, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly, and said, Hello, my name is Heiyu. Before Heiyu explained the situation of Eevee, Reiji spoke first. You are a really bad trainer. You actually let the Pokémon come out alone. Reiji seemed to want to cover up the fact that he didn't see the situation of Eevee even after losing the ball 7 times. Strange? I remember that Reiji in the animation was quite gentle and refined, wasn't he? Heiyu glanced up and down at the purple-haired cold boy in front of him, thinking to himself. In fact, what Heiyu didn't know was that before Reiji was severely taught a lesson by Kami Shiro, his personality was almost the same as his younger brother Shinji, and even worse. Useless thing. Reiji was also a little scared when he saw Heiyu's strange eyes. Heiyu looked at Reiji with dark eyes, and heard the other party's ridicule. For a moment, a trace of murderous intent flashed in his heart. Since he got the Pokémons, he has been smooth sailing all the way, and no one has ever dared to ridicule him like this. It seemed that Heiyu's slightly cold face scared Reiji, and the other party hurriedly said, I am Reiji from the Vale City in the Sinnoh region. I am currently traveling in the Hone region. I have achieved good results in my previous travels, such as... Reiji talked to himself, intentionally or unintentionally introducing his background, saying that he is the key investment target of the Joey family. Heiyu was in no mood to listen to this arrogant man's self-introduction, especially since his expression was so annoying. If Lei Si hadn't been accompanied by a powerful scorpion, he might have attacked right then and there. After all, he had already observed the surroundings and there were almost no people. No one would notice him in the forest. He took a few deep breaths to calm himself down. He hinted that his killing intent should not be so strong. After all, it had only been 3 months since Heiyu came to land. In the past, the pirate ships drifting on the sea were basically the law of the jungle. It was difficult to adjust this mentality in a short period of time. As if he had noticed the fluctuations in Heiyu's emotions, Lei Si subconsciously took a small step back and blocked his body with his hands. After reacting, he found that he seemed to have made a fool of himself, so he hurriedly straightened his back, raised his chin very high, and aimed his nostrils at Heiyu. He blew the whistle hanging around his neck with a proud look on his face, and a handsome and majestic eagle flew out of the forest in an instant. It was the final evolution of the regional home bird in the Sinnoh region, the Mook hawk. No cut. Mook's eagle circled above the 2 people's heads, bursting out with a sonorous eagle cry. The iron claw lobster tensed up instantly, looked up at the sky with a fierce look, and looked at the Mook's eagle defensively, ready to open the protective shield at any time. Heiyu chuckled, stared at Lei Si with narrowed eyes, and the hostility he exuded was revealed without concealment. After coaxing the aggrieved little Eevee, Heiyu held the soft little Eevee in his arms, ignored Lei Si, and left the forest directly. What are you doing? Ignoring the voice behind him, Heiyu left on his own. After Heiyu left, Lei Si also subconsciously breathed a sigh of relief. He had helped Miss Juncha clean up the black organization personnel left in a certain destroyed black market. Just now, for a moment, he saw the temperament of those desperados in Heyu. How is it possible? That guy looks younger than me. Lei Si said it was impossible, but his voice became smaller and smaller, and his confidence became weaker and weaker. The MKS Eagle and the Scorpion next to him looked over, and Lei Si quickly passed the topic to hide his embarrassment. Let's go, Green Town is ahead. It is said that there is also a fighting club like Kana City there, just right to train Scorpion. Lei Si said confidently, and took the last step to ride on MKS Eagle and ordered it to fly towards Green Town. You little Ibrahimovic, you actually sneaked out while I wasn't paying attention. Heyu grabbed Ibrahimovic's neck and held it in front of him with one hand. Little Ibrahimovic stretched out his short hands aggrievedly and waved them in the air, as if he wanted to hug Heyu. It's a pity that the distance is too far, but it reveals a funny look. Along the way, Heyu scolded the little EV. This is not because he is cruel, but as a trainer with a strong desire for control, Heyu really can't stand the Pokémons not listening to his orders like this. This will make him feel out of his control. Heyu admitted that he is a very selfish person. He wants the Pokémons to obey his orders completely and become his property. But he also doesn't want the Pokémons to lose their souls and become a machine that only knows how to obey orders. He glanced at the aggrieved little Eevee, and finally, after repeated assurances, Heyu reluctantly forgave him. Eevee. The little Eevee's furry little short hands hugged Heyu's arms, and rubbed Heyu's pretty face with his furry cheeks. Oh, okay, you're still so cheesy. I'll go back and make you a snack with resin. Heyu put Eevee on his shoulder, put away the tent, and went back to the Pokémon Center in Green Town. For the next half-month, Heyu traveled back and forth between the Pokémon Center in Green Town and the suburbs. Every day, he went out for training in the morning and returned to the Pokémon Center to rest in the evening. The progress of the Pokémons was also gratifying. Eevee successfully broke through level 20 and mastered a new move, which was a new look. It can remove the paralysis, poisoning, and burning states of the self, which is a very good auxiliary skill. It can be used with the synchronization characteristics after evolving into Moon Eevee, which is definitely a tiger with wings. Moon Eevee will also become a multifunctional shield Pokémon. Dark Crow also successfully mastered and skillfully used one of the inherited moves, Drill Peck. The core of this move is to use its own rotation to pierce the enemy's body fiercely. Therefore, Murkrow has been training his sense of balance during this period. After all, the feeling of weightlessness after rotation often reveals flaws in battle. Murkrow has successfully overcome this. The drill marks on countless trees in the suburbs also show the hard work of training, and his level has successfully reached level 18. Such a rapid improvement is of course inseparable from the large number of primary energy blocks of the evil system provided by Black Feather. In addition, the evil system's inherited moves, Surprise Attack, have also begun to enter the door. The training of Megalodon has not changed, and there are only 3 directions in total. First, train the proficiency of holding. Second, train the proficiency of biting skills. Third, step up the mastery of acceleration characteristics. Black Feather set all the tones for Megalodon's future development early, that is, to become a water bully and an assassin who swims fast in the water. With the acceleration characteristics, it can also become Black Feather's mount on the ocean in the future. After all, the acceleration characteristic is so powerful that the Megalodon is almost like a small yacht after the characteristics are superimposed. Although it has no tail, the airflow spewed out from behind is like a jet, almost catapulting out at sea. The hardest one should be the Iron Claw Lobster. It has to train Dragon Dance and Rain Prayer at the same time, and also has to take the trouble to master the defense skill. It seems that I have to give the Iron Claw Lobster a meal when I go back tonight. Heyu looked at the Pokémon Center that came into his sight and strode in. Chapter 84. As soon as I entered the lobby of the Pokémon Center, I saw a few scattered groups of people chatting in groups. Most trainers who set out on an adventure would travel together, after all, it is very dangerous in the wild. Except for a few people who are strong and proficient in wild survival, the rest of them rarely spend the night in the wild, and basically rush to the local Pokémon Center before dark. Heiyu's arrival did not cause any ripples. He quietly handled the Pokémon treatment and sat in the lobby waiting. Hey, have you heard that there is another player who has won 10 games in a row in the Battle Club? Is it true? Didn't a player who won 10 games in a row appear half a month ago? Why would I lie to you? It is said that the player, like Black Sky, fought 10 games in just one day, and defeated several masters who had won 7 or 8 games in a row with a scorpion. That's right, it is said that the player directly dominated the primary arena, but what kind of Pokémon is Scorpion? This. I don't know much, it doesn't seem to be a Pokémon from our home region. I only heard 2 ordinary-looking trainers chattering about the battle club. Black Feather was resting at the table next to him. When he heard these words, he suddenly thought of Ryusai, whom he met half a month ago. What a coincidence! Just as Black Feather was about to get up, he found a message from the illustrated book, which was a message from the Battle Club. Player Black Sky, the Battle Club has matched you with players for the arena competition. Do you choose to sign up? According to the information and online records, it often takes half a year for a fighting club to produce a player with 10 consecutive wins. If you miss it, won't you have to wait for half a year this time? Yu weighed the pros and cons in his mind. It was absolutely unacceptable to wait in Greentown for half a year. His travel plan had already been planned. Even if he returned to Greentown to participate in half a year, it would be disturbed. It just so happens that Lacey's arrogant look also makes him unhappy. Yu made up his mind quickly and sent the word participate. In just a few breaths, the club sent the time and specific rules for participating in the battle. Will you participate in the battle in half a month? It seems that the club wants to take advantage of this time to promote, but this Lacey actually took the initiative to upgrade to the intermediate arena, which means that the battle level is limited to below level 40. Yu once again experienced Lacey's arrogance. He actually took the initiative to propose upgrading the arena, which undoubtedly increased the difficulty. However, from this point of view, the only way is to send the Iron Claw Lobster to participate in the battle. After all, it is related to the rare characteristic capsule. Trainer Black Feather, please come to the front desk to pick up your Pokémon. The Pokémon store, as the only store in Greentown, is almost always packed with customers every day. Trainers passing by will replenish supplies here, such as Pokeballs, spray medicine, etc. Black Feather appeared in the Pokémon store and walked directly to the area of skill discs. The battle will take place in half a month. Black Feather also collected some information about Ryusai, who relied on a scorpion to win 10 consecutive games in the primary arena. The rest did not reveal any other Pokémon information, but fortunately, I saw it in the forest that day and knew that Ryusai definitely had a Mukahawk. It seems that I need to increase the attack surface of the Iron Claw Lobster. Black Feather thought to himself. At present, the main attack attributes of the Iron Claw Lobster are only the dark and water types, and the attack surface is too narrow. There is also the arena competition in half a month. Especially the flying and general attributes of the Pokéhawk that are aimed at Ryusai, just take this opportunity to replenish the skill pool of all Pokémon. After all, he has too much money now. The treatment and rewards given to him by the Chinju Gym, the money earned from betting in the Battle Club, plus his own savings. Now, Yu's money has exceeded the 300W Alliance coins mark, not to mention that he has a dark stone worth tens of thousands of yuan, and a large number of energy blocks. And the earth vein stone milk worth tens of millions. There is a skill disc of awakening power. When Yu saw a skill disc on the counter, his eyes lit up instantly, revealing a look of surprise. If holding is one of the necessary skills for every Pokémon, then awakening power is not inferior at all. As a skill that almost all Pokémons can learn, the rarity of awakening power is almost second only to holding. This skill is a bit like a lottery. Randomly select one attribute from 18 attributes as an attack, which can broaden the Pokémon's attack power to a certain extent. For example, it is almost impossible for a bug Pokémon to learn fire attacks, but if it relies on awakening power, it has a chance to learn fire awakening power. Fire Pokémons learn the awakening power of the water system. Dragon Pokémons learn the awakening power of the fairy attribute. Awakening power is so special, and almost all Pokémons can learn it, so the price is high. Black Feather, facing such a rare skill disc, of course he would not let it go, and directly spent 40W Alliance coins to buy it on the spot. Hello, may I ask if your store still has skill discs for awakening power? Black Feather was not satisfied with getting one, so he asked the clerk unwillingly. Unfortunately, he got a negative answer, and Black Feather had to give up. He was lucky to come across a disc selling awakening power. Then he bought a rock collapse skill disc and a tile splitting skill disc for the Iron Claw Lobster. One rock system, one fighting system. These two skills can well broaden the skill attack range of the Iron Claw Lobster, but the price is not cheap, 18W and 25W Alliance coins respectively. A total of 830,000 Alliance coins were consumed. For such a big business, there must be discounts, and it is a Pokémon store certified by the Alliance. Heiyu showed his second-level Alliance authority and got a huge discount, 10% off. Since the discount is so big, why not buy more? Save yourself the trouble of going to the black market next time. The skill discs in the black market are often very expensive and unsecured. After thinking it over, Heiyu decided to buy them in the Alliance store. 4 Shadow Clone skill discs cost a total of 400,000 Alliance coins, which is 360,000 after the discount. Buying another Shadow Ball skill disc for EV costs 250,000, which is 225,000 Alliance coins after the discount. Heiyu's big spending shocked the clerk and other trainers who came to buy goods. Fortunately, this is a store certified by the Alliance, and the people who come to choose are almost all serious trainers, not those who walk in the grey area. That is why Heiyu dared to show off his wealth so recklessly and spend money lavishly. Hello, I would like to rent your skill learning instrument. Heiyu chose to use it directly in the Pokémon shop. A clerk in green clothes said flatteringly, "You are our most distinguished guest, so you can try this instrument for free." Heiyu smiled and nodded, without being polite. He used all the skill discs he bought on the spot, and there were no accidents throughout the process. The skill discs produced by the Alliance are still guaranteed. The awakening power is actually the fire attribute. Heiyu looked at the data displayed on the instrument, and a look of surprise flashed across his face. Chapter 85. The function of the skill disc is to directly import the method of using the skill into the mind of the Pokémon. Therefore, as long as the Pokémon can learn this skill, the skill disc can be used. Moreover, the skill disc can only be used once and will be scrapped after use, so it is impossible to reuse it. Walking out of the Pokémon shop and returning to the Pokémon Center, Heiyu carefully observed the back and found that no one was following him. It can only be said that it is worthy of being a regular store. If this were in the black market, there would be at least 7 or 8 waves of people following him. After returning to the Pokémon Center, Heiyu began to formulate a training plan for the next half-month. Without thinking, he knew that it was definitely in terms of skills. After all, the only thing that can increase strength in a short period of time is new skills. Heiyu also remembered another famous building on the internet in Green Town. Or it can be said to be a famous profession, skill teaching teacher. There are various professions related to Pokémons in the Pokémon world. In addition to the most basic trainers and breeders, there are also more mysterious and rare alchemists, prop makers. Skill teachers are one of them. Although the Pokémons of these people are not strong, they are often proficient in many skills of many attributes. And their Pokémons often have excellent teaching ability, so the profession of skill teacher has been derived. The next day, Heiyu came to the southwest corner of Green Town, where there is a huge oval building with a huge sphere on top. In the entire Green Town, it is almost the building second only to the Pokémon Center and the Battle Club. As soon as Heiyu entered, someone came up to him. "Hello, welcome, are you looking for skill teaching for your Pokémon?" A man wearing glasses and work clothes asked enthusiastically. Heiyu nodded silently and stated his purpose: "I need to find a skill teacher who can teach Rock Collapse and Shadow Clone. There are many skills that the Iron Claw Lobster needs to train, in addition to Dragon Dance and Rain Prayer, there are also newly learned Rock Collapse, Shadow Clone, and Tile Splitting. But everything has its priorities, and often the result of wanting everything is nothing." Heiyu decided to let the crawfish learn Rock Fall first, because it is the skill that restrains the Mohawk first. After the staff learned about Heiyu's needs, they quickly started to communicate with the walkie-talkie in their hands. Not long after, an old man in a colorful vest appeared with a cane and in high spirits. Next to him was a mole-like Pokémon, with a sharp steel head like a shark fin on its head, and its hands were like drills. Heiyu, who was familiar with the appearance of various Pokémon in the Pokémon world, immediately recognized the details of this Pokémon. Dragonhead Diglett. A special Pokémon in the Unova region, often found in underground tunnels, is particularly popular in some construction teams. "Haha, young man, your Pokémon is going to learn Rockfall, right?" the old man said with a charitable and kind expression. But Heiyu didn't dare to underestimate it, because the crawfish next to him was looking at the Dragonhead Diglett very vigilantly, with a look of fear on his face. Heiyu could sense that this dragon-headed mole was very strong, probably at least above level 40, otherwise the Iron Claw Lobster would not have shown this expression. However, this is a serious place in the Alliance, no longer a grey or dark area, so Yu was slightly relieved. Yes, it's my Iron Claw Lobster that wants to learn the Rock Collapse move, and the Shadow Clone. May I ask if you are the skill instructor? Yu greeted very politely and asked at the same time. The old man nodded with a smile, then motioned Yu to follow, and finally came to a rather spacious training room. Inside was an ordinary sandy environment. Yu glanced at the surveillance in the corner, and after confirming that there was no danger in the room, he let the Iron Claw Lobster follow the dragon-headed mole into the room. Old buddy, please teach this little guy the Rock Collapse move. The old man pointed at the Iron Claw Lobster with his cane in his hand. The vitality exuded in his gestures did not show that he was an old man over 70 years old. After observing for a while and finding that the dragon-headed mole was indeed teaching the Iron Claw Lobster, Yu watched with peace of mind. However, he could not understand the Pokémon's words. He could only hear the chilly quack sound of the dragon-headed mole, and at the same time, two hands like drills were constantly waving in the air. Through the communication of rock attribute energy, several pieces of broken rocks condensed from the air and fell to the ground. The Iron Claw Lobster imitated him and waved his claws in the air. Some grey-brown energy gathered and condensed into a fist-sized stone. Compared with the giant broken rock next to it, it was simply a world of difference. Yu could not help but feel a little worried. In the past half-month, how much progress can be made? Haha, young man, don't worry. I see that your Iron Claw Lobster is very well cultivated. Aishu has been with me for decades. Over the years, I have taught at least 800 new trainers, if not 1,000. The old man took out his work permit and motioned Yu to search for his information on the internet. Yu smiled politely, but he was complaining wildly in his heart. You charge me 300,000 league coins in half a month, and the speed of making money is not slower than when I was a teacher in the trainer school. Before coming, he certainly looked up information about skill teachers and knew that the old man was indeed a well-known skill teacher. Especially proficient in rock, ground, and steel attributes. The old man also won the championship of a certain conference decades ago. Even though he is old now, his strength is still as good as before. It is said that he was also a genius when he was young. It is precisely because of this that all these reasons combined have led to the old man's extremely high fees, but as long as it can produce results, Yu will certainly not be stingy with this little money. The evaluation of this old man on the internet is indeed very high. It is said that even the nobleman Daigo of Duan Company has come here to ask for teaching moves. Careful selection of future champions. It is precisely because of this that Yu is willing to hire the old man at a price of 20,000 alliance coins a day. Half a month passed quietly. In half a month, Yu was learning cultivation knowledge every day, and the Pokémons were placed with the old man for learning. Public facilities opened by the Alliance will not have burning, killing and looting similar to the Dark Zone, and Yu can mobilize the monitoring of his training room at any time. So he put the Iron Claw Lobster there with peace of mind. Iron Claw Lobster, Rock Collapse. At Yu's command, the Iron Claw Lobster stomped its feet, waved its claws, and instantly condensed several stones the size of a human head in the air. Fall. Several stones fell instantly and collapsed to the ground. Yu looked at the boulders on the field with satisfaction, and felt that the money was worth it. The old man is worthy of the title of a gold medal teacher for training a newly learned move to such a level in just half a month. Use Rock Slide again. Yu excitedly directed the Iron Claw Lobster to use Rock Slide on the field. Chapter 86. Iron Claw Lobster, let's go, get ready for the battle. Yu strode out of the training ground and walked towards the battle club. Along the way, he met many people who had the same destination as him. After half a month of publicity, this ring battle worth millions of dollars with characteristic capsules as the stakes has already caused a sensation in the entire Green Town. Alliance coins worth millions. Many families may not be able to make so much money in their lifetime. So not only Green Town, but also people from several surrounding towns came here to visit. When Yu came to the battle club, it was already crowded, and even the stalls on the roadside at the door had stretched for dozens of meters. Yu subconsciously looked around. In the past half-month, he often came here to try to find Huayu's traces. It's a pity that this king seems to have left here a long time ago, which makes Yu a little regretful, but the manual with the quotations is carefully collected. A handwritten quotation from a heavenly king, I'm afraid it will be very popular in the black market. Hey Yu thought. However, although he thought so, Hey Yu would never sell it. He had just comprehended the profound knowledge of evil attribute cultivation in it. Some of the words in it even have some metaphysics. Even if Hey Yu could not use it in the future, he would not sell it. After all, it is a kind of connection. There are not many opportunities to get in touch with the Heavenly King. With this handwritten cultivation note, in the future, he can also tell everyone that he has received guidance from the Heavenly King Huayu. He Yu is very clear about the benefits of borrowing momentum. Since the Heavenly King Huayu gave this thing to him, it must be meant to guide and appreciate him. Of course, he should get closer to him and learn more. Oh, why am I thinking about this? Let's hurry into the arena. Today's fight won't be that easy. He Yu threw away the random thoughts in his mind and looked up at the 5 big characters of the battle club above his head. Put on the mask issued by the club before and enter the competition ring in the name of He Tian. In the backstage of the battle club, there is a spacious and luxurious office with extremely exquisite decoration. The antiques placed in the corner are worth a lot of money, and even the paintings on the wall are from famous teachers. On the sofa, 4 men are sitting cross-legged and watching the games on the huge screen. Hee, look, this guy in the intermediate ring has won 3 consecutive games. One of them put down the expensive cigarette in his hand, crossed his legs, and said in surprise. Tisk, what's the point of this? There's nothing interesting about the middle and low-level arenas. When will we be able to open a high-level arena? Who knew that the other people took a look and then looked away, looking uninterested? Do you think the high-level arena is a cabbage? Our small village may not be able to open it once a year. If you have the ability, you can ask your superiors to transfer you to Kana City. Although they are all managers of the battle club, there are frictions between them, and someone immediately refuted. However, despite saying so, it is obvious that one of the 4 is the leader, and the other 3 are asking for his opinion when they speak, as if they dare not offend him. Boss, it seems that the Alliance sent someone to investigate our battle club before. I wonder if there is any here in our Green Shade Town branch. One of them suddenly spoke up and asked the leading man carefully. The leading man sat on a single sofa, shaking a red wine glass in his hand, holding a valuable cigarette in the other hand, and puffing smoke comfortably. As if sensing the tension in everyone's heart, the man casually said, "What are you afraid of?" The previous incident of the Hoshino family was not only done by our faction, but also by several big families. If the sky falls, there are tall people to support it. What are you afraid of? The man's words were like a reassurance, and everyone was relieved, so they continued to watch the huge screen and comment on the game on the ring. By the way, don't do anything behind the scenes in today's 10-game winning streak. The leading man had a rare serious expression and warned several people. Occasionally, he could turn a blind eye to manipulating a few games behind the scenes to gain some benefits for himself. But if it affects the reputation of the fighting club, he will not be merciful at all. After all, the club's business situation is related to future promotions. He doesn't want to stay in the Green Shade Town branch for the rest of his life. At the same time, he also knows the personalities of his subordinates very well. They value money as their life and will do anything for the sake of profit. Otherwise, they would not have taken over the Hoshino family. Intermediate stage at this moment, the audience seats were packed with people. After half a month of hype, this battle between 2 strong men with 10 consecutive wins and $1 million special capsule at stake has already attracted much attention. The club also took the opportunity to raise the ticket price a little and made a lot of money. Dear audience, today's intermediate ring is a battle between dragons and tigers. In just 1 month, 2 strong men with 10 consecutive wins have appeared. Let us invite them. Contestant Haishan and contestant Lei Si. Hey Yu, wearing a mask, walked slowly onto the ring and looked at Lei Si on the opposite side of the venue. The other party did not seem to recognize him. But this Lei Si is really conceited. Not only does he use his real name, he doesn't even wear a mask. Hey Yu thought silently in his heart. Haishan. 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 Lei Si. Lei Si. The audience in the audience began to shout wildly. As the players who have been hotly discussed by the club in the past month, Hey Yu and Lei Si are both very popular. Please release your Pokémons. Hey Yu threw out his Pokeball, and a white light flashed. Iron Claw appeared. As a Pokémon commonly seen in the sea area of Hone, Iron Claw's popularity is obviously not low, and it instantly set off the whole audience. Lei Si pouted and released a proud and handsome eagle Muk-Hawk. Tisk, I thought it was someone else, it turned out to be the useless trainer that day, and it turns out that useless trainers will have useless Pokémon. Lei Si seemed to recognize Heiyu through Iron Claw, after all, he saw Iron Claw next to Heiyu that day. I didn't expect that a useless trainer like you could stand on the same stage with me, but in this game, I will tell you what it means to be strong forever. I can't just rely on luck to get through here. Lei Si made arrogant remarks, with a self-righteous look. Heiyu looked at him with a caring look for the mentally retarded, and did not argue with him. Heiyu knew that this kind of person would only shut up after he was taught a lesson. Just like Shinji in the animation, he had always been dismissive of Zai before the finals, and his attitude gradually improved after being stunned by the eldest brother in a battle. But the host on the side would not miss this opportunity. After discovering the unusual relationship between the two, he immediately began to mobilize the emotions of the audience. Oh. Dear audience friends, I didn't expect that the two players actually knew each other. And it seems that our Lei Si player seems to have some misunderstandings about Haitian. As the host's words fell, the atmosphere in the audience began to become lively. After all, people always like to see other people's love and hatred. Curiosity is human nature. Chapter 87. I'll let you know what real strength is. Lei Si said proudly. McClaxon beside him made an awkward cry, and he himself was embarrassed for the trainer. No. Heiyu ignored Lei Si's barking, but looked up and down at McClaxon beside him. From the appearance, the feathers are shiny, the posture is majestic, and the sharp eyes can be seen from the courageous momentum. Very well cultivated. And what attracted Heiyu's attention the most was undoubtedly the pair of eagle claws. Others might not be able to see it, but as a breeder, Heiyu could see at a glance that it was definitely specially trained. Once fighting, it can definitely exert extremely strong explosive power, and McClaxon is one of the few bird Pokémon that is good at fighting. Heiyu couldn't help but flash a trace of worry in his heart. Just the claw. Looking at the Pokémon beside him, Heiyu reacted immediately and smiled softly. Yes, with you here, what do I have to worry about? Go, my trump card. Not to mention that he had prepared a restraining rock collapse for the enemy Pokémon in advance, which must work at the critical moment. The Iron Claw Lobster stepped suddenly with its powerful legs and jumped onto the ring. With ferocious faces and sharp eyes, the two Pokémons looked at each other from a distance and felt the fighting spirit from each other. As the Pokémons of both sides were ready, the battle began instantly at the command of the referee. No cut! Mook Eagle screamed instantly, revealing a mighty momentum. Iron Claw Lobster, use hot water. At the beginning of the battle, Heiyu took the initiative to let the Pokémon launch an attack, mainly to test the various capabilities of this Mook Eagle. And the key characteristics that can affect the battle situation. From now on, it looks a bit like intimidation. After all, the fierce roar that the opponent showed at the beginning of the game is very common when combined with intimidation. Most of the Pokémon with the intimidation trait will be made to act fierce by trainers to maximize the advantages of this trait. However, the Iron Claw will not be scared. It is not affected at all. Its claws suddenly open forward, and a column of water with scalding hot steam suddenly shoots towards the Muk-Hawk in the air. Lightning flash, dodge! Lei Si roared, and the Muk-Hawk in the air flashed white light, and appeared in another place in an instant, easily dodging the attack. A trace of surprise flashed in Heiyu's eyes. The reaction speed of this Muk-Hawk is really fast enough. Although eagle Pokémons have fast reaction speed, they must have been fed with drugs that increase the speed of nerve reaction. Muk-Hawk, Air Blade. Muk-Hawk flapped its wings, and two sharp wind blades instantly slashed towards the Iron Claw below. Just use the tile-splitting skill to break it. Heiyu gave the order instantly, and the Iron Claw Lobster raised its huge claws and smashed it instantly. Heiyu knew clearly that the Pokémon Muka had almost no excellent long-range moves, and all of his self-taught skills were melee type. Not a single long-range move. Not even those of his own system, let alone other systems. Therefore, the opponent's Air Blade was most likely taught by skill discs or other Pokémons. Heiyu's tactic was to lure the opponent's Muka into close combat, otherwise, his Iron Claw Lobster would not be able to jump that high. Muka uses Air Blades. Lei Si didn't believe in evil, frowned, and continued to give orders. Two more blades were easily smashed by the Iron Claw Lobster waving its claws, as if it was intentional, and it showed a mocking sneer to Muka in the sky. Provocation skills. Muka's few transformation skills were blocked, and the two sides were deadlocked, and no one launched an attack again. Lei Si frowned, his face was stunned, he found that he seemed to have underestimated his opponent. He was about to order Mook to use Shadow Clone, but before he could say anything, he was provoked by the opponent. Damn it, can we only fight in close combat? As an experienced trainer, Lei Si thought that there was no problem with the tactical arrangement, and he used the advantage of flying to consume the long range. He subconsciously began to shirk his responsibility. Mook is a Pokémon with too many limitations, and there are almost no long-range moves that can be learned. Lei Si's eyes flashed with disdain, looking at Mook's back, his eyes were extremely indifferent. After a stalemate of half a minute, until the audience in the audience began to whisper, Lei Si still did not launch an attack, because he found that he seemed to be in a dead end. Transformation moves were locked, and long-range attacks were invalid. Can Mook give up the advantage of the sky and switch to close combat? No, attack quickly. Mook uses Swallow Return. While Lei Si was struggling, he suddenly caught a glimpse of the lobster on the ring, which was actually dancing a mysterious and intense dance. With his experience, he instantly realized that it was the enhanced move Dragon Dance. He hurriedly ordered the Pokémons to attack, but it was too late. The lobster had already mastered the Dragon Dance very well. Before the Mook Eagle had time to attack, the Dragon Dance had been strengthened. Heiyu looked at the strengthened lobster, and his mouth curled up slightly, revealing a satisfied look. The lobster's training these days was not in vain. It's just that the Dragon Dance can only be maintained for a short time and is extremely physically demanding. We need to end the battle as soon as possible. Heiyu raised his eyebrows and said in his heart. Lobster, just use the shell blade to fight it head-on. Heiyu was not afraid. As the master of the Iron Claw Lobster, he knew very well how powerful his Pokémon was in attack. MKS Eagle swooped down, using its wings and claws at the same time, performing a rhythmic fighting technique. The Iron Claw Lobster's shell blade suddenly smashed down, but was directly resolved by MKS Eagle. Sure enough. This MKS Eagle is very strong in close combat, so much so that it has formed a unique combat rhythm and method. Heiyu thought to himself that it was true. Heiyu's expression did not change, and he continued to command the Iron Claw Lobster to attack. He didn't believe it. Could you resolve it a second or third time? After the Iron Claw Lobster's left claw was blocked, the right claw instantly accumulated power and released a stream of water, and suddenly chopped down towards the head of the MKS Eagle. MKS Eagle, use close combat directly. Lei Si didn't expect that this seemingly insignificant Pokémon could be so tricky, and the pair of pincers were wielded with great force. The pincers, carrying the phantom of the water shell blade, fought back and forth with the close combat of MKS Eagle for a while. Although his skills were not as gorgeous as MKS Eagle, strength was everything. One force can break all laws. Bang! MK Eagle was having a harder and harder time fighting. Although he was not hit by the pincers, the combined force of the wings and the pincers made it increasingly difficult for his wings to support themselves. After all, how can a pair of wings collide with the pincers? The fact that the soft wings did not break the hard pincers when they were used to fight against each other shows that the muscles of MK Eagle's wings are extremely well developed. Lei Si was secretly anxious, his brows furrowed. How could his fighting skills, which had always worked in the past, be broken by his strength? In the past, the enemy had almost been dealt with before MK Eagle could use close combat, and it was rare to force him to use this move. In this situation, close combat did not work at all. This was MK Eagle's best move, a powerful move with a power of 120. Lei Si's lips turned pale, and he exhaled. His hands hanging by his waist unconsciously clenched, and he thought to himself that this was a difficult situation. MK Eagle, find a chance to get out and get back to the sky. Lei Si could only order the Pokémons to leave the battle quickly. But how could Heiyu do as he wished? When facing a defeated enemy, you must pursue it relentlessly. Iron Claw Lobster, Water Jet. The Iron Claw Lobster was filled with water and suddenly jumped into the sky. The Mook Eagle, which was still flying at a low altitude, was instantly knocked away and directly hit the roof of the venue. Countless spectators looked up and their movements were surprisingly consistent. Chapter 88. Use hot water continuously, don't give him a chance. Heiyu gave an order, and several water jets sprayed out from the claws of the Iron Claw Lobster. Carrying the rolling hot water, it hit the Mook Eagle head-on. In an instant, the Mook Eagle, which was still adjusting its posture in the air, instantly wailed. No cut. Several feathers slid from the air, all soaked by the water, and emitting wisps of hot air. In the air, the mook eagle flapped its wings very hard, barely maintaining its flying posture. Originally, its wings had been used in close combat with the iron claw lobster's claws, and now it was hit head-on by hot water, and its wings had already lost all their strength. Mook eagle, use feather rest quickly to recover your strength. Lei Si calculated the time, realized that the time for provocation was about to pass, and hurriedly shouted to command. He Yu knew that it was too late to use provocation now. If it was the dark crow with a mischievous heart, he might be able to use provocation first. Unfortunately, the lobster's proficiency in the provocation skill is average. In that case, use the substitute. At He Yu's command, a layer of substitute similar to the painted skin suddenly appeared on the surface of the lobster. It is enough to withstand a powerful attack. This skill was obtained by He Yu through the investment of the Joey family in order to increase the lobster's life-saving ability. There has been no opportunity to use it, or it can be said that there has never been an opponent that allows the lobster to fight heartily. It has never been used, but it does not mean that the lobster has not trained this skill. On the contrary, this skill has always been the top priority. The surface injuries of the MK Eagle's body gradually recovered, which means that he also temporarily lost the attribute of flying. He Yu wants to hide the rock collapse behind. But without the flying attribute, the resistance to the fighting attribute will no longer exist, and the fighting attribute will once again form a restraint. He Yu's eyes flashed, looking at the MK Eagle flying at a low altitude. Although the physical strength has recovered, the damage and fatigue on the wings cannot be eliminated. Is the shell blade of Dragon Dance really so easy to resist? Even if it relies on fighting skills and the power of close combat, the wings of the mook eagle cannot be restored in a short time. At this flying height, the iron claw lobster can just jump up and attack. Iron claw lobster, just use the tile splitting. He Yu seized the moment when the opponent was flying at low altitude and commanded. The iron claw lobster's strong and powerful legs suddenly stepped down, and the tail behind it also slapped the ground, using the force to jump up. The huge claws condensed brown energy and suddenly chopped down, just aiming at the abdomen of the mook eagle. Hurry up and dodge with lightning. Lei Si saw that the situation was not good. The iron claw lobster could actually jump so high, and hurriedly ordered to flee. It's a pity that I don't know whether the previous battle stunned the mook eagle, so that the reaction speed decreased. Or the damage to the wings caused by the close combat just now has not recovered. Anyway, before he could use the lightning, he was hit by a tile-splitting move. No cut. Mook Hawk, who originally had flying and general attributes, was twice as bad when facing fighting attributes. He could use feathers to temporarily lose his flying attribute, so that he would no longer resist fighting. In this way, Mook Hawk, who only had general attributes, was restrained by the tile-splitting move twice. Sweat appeared on Lei Si's forehead. He found that he seemed to be led by the opponent from the beginning of this battle, so that he forgot his own fighting style. He looked at He Yu with great fear, and thought to himself, I have to break the stand before I can use that move. Mook Hawk, use swallow return. Mook Hawk, who was trying to stand up on the ground with his wings, heard the trainer's order, and a trace of sadness flashed in his heart. But he still obeyed Lei Si's order, turned around and flew at a low altitude and at a high speed, and when he approached the iron claw lobster, his powerful eagle claws directly broke the stand floating on the surface. Rapidly ascend, increase the flight altitude. Lei Si seemed to be preparing a big move, and a fierce look appeared in his determined eyes. He Yu noticed that the increase in the body of the iron claw lobster seemed to be slowly weakening, and the strengthening time of Dragon Dance was coming. Just when he was about to force the battle to end quickly, Lei Si's next command shocked him. Mook Eagle, Brave Bird Attack. Lei Si's calm face finally showed a fluctuation of expression, and his eyes flashed with expectation and uneasiness. He didn't know whether this unskilled attack would succeed. As a big move that Mook Eagle can only learn when it is close to level 50, the fact that Mook Eagle at more than level 30 can barely use it can already prove that its qualifications are extremely excellent. Mook Eagle in the air slowly folded its wings, and the magical thing was that it did not fall. The surface of its body ignited a blue-purple light, as if it charged downwards like a rocket shell. He Yu was shocked. Isn't the ferocious expression on the opponent's face when he appeared a threatening feature? In this case, the opponent should have a counter-injury when using this skill. He Yu quickly commanded, Iron Claw Lobster, hold on. The two claws of the Iron Claw Lobster blocked in front, and the green protective shield instantly spread all over the body, holding on and waiting. Swish! No cut! MK Eagle barely used this move that he was not very skilled at, and let out a powerful eagle cry. The duel between spear and shield. The audience held their breath and watched. At this moment, everyone seemed to have forgotten to breathe. The light signs in their hands no longer flashed, and the roaring shouts disappeared. Bang! Boom boom boom! An explosion resounded on the ring, and thick fog spread in the venue, and gradually dissipated with the smoke. The iron claw lobster on the field is still standing on the field. Except for a few scratches, it is still intact without any damage. Hey, it's the self-sacrifice feature. Yu keenly observed the situation on the field and the power of the previous move. Instantly realized that the opponent's move might be amplified, and it might be a hidden feature self-sacrifice. The power of a move that will be injured by the reaction force will be increased. But how much physical strength can MKS Eagle have left after using this move? Yu smiled mysteriously and showed a confident expression. Iron Claw Lobster, Rock Collapse. Lacey's expression was ugly, because he knew that if this attack did not succeed, it meant that there was no chance in this game. Sure enough, with the rock collapse, Lacey's last psychological defense line collapsed instantly, and he had no idea of resisting. He did not continue to command, because he knew that all this was meaningless, and MK's physical strength was not enough to support him to use any skills. A huge boulder instantly fell from the sky, instantly knocking the low-flying MK Eagle to the ground. The MK Eagle buried in the pile of rocks wailed, and blood oozed from its wings. The scene was extremely miserable, and Lacey felt distressed. Although he always said that he was right, it was the Pokémon who had followed him for more than a year after all. I admit defeat. Lacey lowered his head, took back the MK Eagle, gritted his teeth and said this. Before leaving, he glanced at Yu and disappeared on the ring. Whoa! Hey Tian! Hey Tian! Hey Tian! Hey Tian! Hey Tian! Hey Tian! The battle ended, and the audience in the audience seats instantly burst into cheers that resounded throughout the venue. This battle, which seemed equally matched to outsiders, was undoubtedly very exciting, especially the close combat between the two sides in the middle. Every punch hit the flesh, very enjoyable. Chapter 89. After Lacey admitted defeat and left the stage, the only cheers left in the entire ring were those of He Tian. The host also trotted to the center of the ring and said loudly with the microphone, "Let us congratulate He Tian again for successfully defeating his opponent and winning the ring battle." At the same time, he also won the final reward, the exclusive treasure of our club, the characteristic capsule. The organizers have been promoting this game and have made enough money. Even after the game, they did not forget to promote it again. As expected, they heard the 4 words exclusive treasure. The audience was boiling again, and countless people's faces were flushed, wishing that they were the ones who received the award below. Yu's expression hidden in the mask was very helpless. He was forced to cooperate with the host's publicity business until later. He left and the ring was handed over to the club. Following the staff to a room similar to the backstage, there was nothing special except some ordinary sandalwood furniture. Just as Yu was about to sit down, the door opened. A masked man walked in, handed Yu a beautiful gift box with a swift movement, and left silently without saying a word. Yu was a little confused, but he still opened the gift box. A blue-purple capsule of medium size was quietly placed inside. It looked beautiful, and under the light, some genes could be seen inside. Is this the characteristic capsule? It can transform the Pokémon's characteristics into another characteristic besides the hidden characteristic. Yu's face was unconsciously filled with joy. Such a treasure could definitely be sold at a high price of millions in the black market. For example, some Pokémons with excellent qualifications are dragged down by their characteristics for some reasons. If there is a characteristic capsule at this time, it will undoubtedly save this kind of Pokémon directly. But it seems to be useless to me at present. My current Pokémon characteristics are very excellent and do not need to be changed. Megalodon and Murkrow are both hidden characteristics, and acceleration and mischief are very excellent. Eevee's adaptability will become the synchronized trait after evolving into Moon Eevee, which just fits the Moon Eevee's meat shield positioning. Needless to say, the Iron Claw Lobster's adaptability trait that increases damage is definitely much better than the other 2 ordinary traits. Of course, there is also a treasure called Trait Ointment, which can transform ordinary traits into hidden traits, which is considered an upgraded version of the trait capsule, but there is no news on the market yet, and it is probably not yet developed. Hey Yu waited in the room for a long time, and finally, a person who looked like a boss behind the scenes appeared. After asking Hey Yu a lot of nonsense, he got straight to the point. I wonder if Brother Haishan is interested in joining our battle club. Hey Yu pretended to think on the surface, but he was disdainful in his heart, because what this person said about joining the club was nothing more than becoming their thug. Secretly cooperate with them to operate and make profits. Hey Yu thinks he is not a good person, and if he can make profits for himself, it is not a bad idea to cooperate with them. But I'm afraid that once I join, I will become a pawn used by these people. It's better not to wade into this quagmire. If I get stuck in it, it will be difficult to get out. It's unknown what expression the face of Hey Yu hidden under the mask showed. But in the end, he still politely declined the invitation of the other party and asked him not to care about it. The man who was suspected to be the boss behind the scenes was not angry. After a slight pause for 2 seconds, he laughed and let Hey Yu leave, indicating that he would not care about it. Hey Yu left the battle club with the farewell of the boss behind the scenes. Standing in front of the French window on the second floor, the boss behind the scenes looked at Hey Yu's back with a leisurely look. Humph, if it weren't for the special period now. After finishing the game, Hey Yu returned to the Pokémon Center as soon as possible, although the Iron Claw Lobster was not seriously injured. But the physical consumption was still not small. After all, the enhanced state of Dragon Dance was maintained for half of the game. Please, Miss Joy. After Hey Yu handed the Pokeball of the Iron Claw Lobster to Miss Joy, he looked around the hall and found an empty seat, and walked over slowly. He had just sat down and hadn't rested for a few minutes. Suddenly, a familiar and cold voice came from behind. Hey, your name is Hey Yu, right? Hey Yu turned his head and saw that it was Lei Si who had just fought with him, but the other party's expression now seemed a little unnatural. Hey Yu raised the corner of his mouth and said, "Oh, I am such a useless person, but I am qualified to answer you." Hey Yu especially emphasized the word useless. Lei Si's mouth twitched slightly, and he tried his best to hold back. With anger, he sat opposite Hey Yu and said, "In fact, you won the game, but it was just luck. If my Mukhock didn't have long-range moves." Lei Si started to talk blah blah as soon as he sat down. Of course, to sum it up in one sentence, Hey Yu just won him because of luck. The more Hey Yu listened, the tighter his brows tightened. Although he thought he was not a good bird, he was still devoted to his Pokémons. Especially the Pokémons that had been with him the longest. Hey Yu had long regarded the Iron Claw Lobster as his partner, not a tool pet like Mushroom. But Lei Si in front of him never thought about the mistakes of his command, and kept talking about the faults of Mukhock. Hey Yu hurriedly interrupted and said with a bad face, "Your Mukhock is really hard-working and powerful. In my opinion, you are not worthy of such a good Pokémon. Your command and control of the whole battle situation." Hey Yu's ruthless words undoubtedly hurt Lei Si. As a person with extremely strong self-esteem, Lei Si immediately retorted to Hey Yu, "As a Pokémon, the only thing you need to do is to win. As long as you lose, you are not worthy of sympathy." Lei Si's words undoubtedly show his attitude towards Pokémon, which is to use them. He treats Pokémon as a complete tool. Even the Moako Hawk that has followed him for many years. Hey Yu was stunned. He knew that he could not persuade Lei Si. In addition, the clash of ideas between trainers was fierce, so he simply did not speak again. "Wait until you are beaten up by the God Era and you will be honest." Hey Yu complained in his heart. At the same time, he had some evil taste in his heart. He wanted to see Lei Si, a breeder who suddenly turned into a gentle and attentive Pokémon breeder in the future. Do you want to record his words? Let him listen to them after he changes his career in the future. After Miss Joy called, Hey Yu took back his Iron Claw Lobster. Just as he was about to go back to the room to rest, Lei Si finally spoke and said the purpose of this trip. "Hey Yu, you should have got the final bonus characteristic capsule, right? I wonder if you can trade it to me. I am willing to pay the highest price on the market." Lei Si suddenly stopped in front of Hey Yu, his face flushed, and he said embarrassedly. Hey Yu looked at Lei Si up and down with a strange expression. "Since you are ready to beg me, you are still showing off to me just now, and even arguing with me. It seems that Lei Si doesn't understand the ways of the world at all." However, this did not prevent Hey Yu from taking the opportunity to raise the price. Chapter 90. It's okay to sell it to you, but I have two questions. First, who is this special capsule for? Yu took out the beautiful blue-purple capsule from his arms and showed it to Lei Si. As expected, it instantly attracted Lei Si's attention. He stared at the capsule and couldn't look away. I have a Pokémon, Rhino, which has the attributes of ground and rock, but its characteristic is a lightning rod. Lei Si said seriously. Yu's face became more and more weird. Lightning rod is a very good characteristic. Attracting electric attacks to yourself will not cause any damage, but will increase special attacks. Immunity, counterattack, and enhancement. The characteristics that combine the three advantages are definitely nightmare-level characteristics when facing some trainers who specialize in electric attributes. But the failure is that Rhino has the attributes of ground and rock. Let me ask you, if you send out an electric attribute Pokémon, would you use an electric attribute move against a ground attribute Pokémon that is immune to your attack? No wonder, your attribute and attribute match. Yu was a little amused, but if you think about it the other way around, Lei Si was able to subdue a Rhino with such a big disadvantage. Then this Rhino must have something unique, or it must be extremely talented. So good that he would rather spend a trait capsule to change its attribute than give it up. This involves the secret of Lei Si's Pokémon. Even if Yu is curious, he can't ask too much. It is a taboo among trainers to explore the secrets of Pokémon without authorization. Okay, the second question, is your Mukahawk attribute self-sacrifice or intimidation? Yu still hasn't figured out whether the ferocious expression that Mukahawk showed when he first came on the field was an intimidation attribute. If so, why was the subsequent Brave Bird attack so powerful? My fighting style is generally to collect information about enemy Pokémons and then make targeted plans, so in turn, I keep information about my own Pokémons relatively secret. So I will let Mukahawk deliberately disguise the intimidation feature at the beginning of the battle, but in fact, its feature is a hidden feature self-sacrifice. After listening to Lei Si's explanation, Yu had to sigh at his meticulousness. The talents in the world are indeed like crucian carp crossing the river. Don't underestimate your opponent at any time. Yu secretly warned himself in his heart to restrain his arrogant temperament and not become like Lei Si in front of him and the future Shinji. After asking the question, Yu sold the feature capsule to Lei Si as he wished, but the price was a little higher. In addition, he also asked Lei Si for the method of training simulation and disguising the intimidation feature. Tisk tisk tisk, such a feature capsule sold for 1.5 million alliance coins. Yu looked at the 2.8 million alliance coins in his account and felt happy again. In the next half-month, Yu trained in Green Town, occasionally went to the suburbs for wilderness survival, and occasionally participated in the game against the club to hone the little EV. During this period, Lei Si invited Yu to fight again. The relationship between the two sides eased. Yu found that Lei Si was a little proud, arrogant, conceited, confident, arrogant, sharp-tongued, and unreasonable in character. The rest was still very good. Especially in terms of cultivating Pokémons, Lei Si's various ideas can definitely be called original. Including his exclusive training and the method of disguising intimidation characteristics. Even with Yu's current vision, he couldn't find any faults in the whole article, and he was amazed. Lei Si, a genius. Lei Si, there are many dangers in the Kalu tunnel. This is the map I drew. It should be of some help to you. Yu took out a hand-drawn map and handed it to Lei Si, because the other party was finally leaving Green Town and continuing his journey. It's just that Yu's route is to travel from the southwest corner to the northeast, while Lei Si is just the opposite. The next place he is going to is Kana City and Chinjua City, which he has been to before. Thank you, Yu. I hope you and I can meet at the Alliance Conference. We must have a hearty battle then. Lei Si didn't say anything annoying this time, but felt a sense of mutual appreciation. Watching Lei Si's back as he set off on his journey, Yu looked at the setting sun and murmured, I'm also going to leave. I've been here for almost a month. Finally, after a few days of rest, Yu left Green Town and asked for the contact information of the skill teaching master before leaving. After all, he might need to look for a skill instructor in the future. With this connection, he can be regarded as an increase in his network of contacts. On the morning of the second day, Yu set out on his journey. The next place he was going to this time was Fuyan Town, located in the northeast corner of Green Town. The two towns were very close to each other, separated by only a small forest. In fact, according to the official recommended travel plan, we should go east on Route 117 to Zijin City. After all, compared to walking in the wild forest, the road opened by the official is undoubtedly safer. However, the gym in Zijin City is mainly based on the electric system, which is very disadvantageous for Heiyu's current team. On the contrary, the gym in Fuyan Town is mainly based on fire attributes, which makes Heiyu very comfortable. And it is said that the hot springs there are very popular, and it is said that they can cure certain diseases. Heiyu has experienced the waves of the sea and the flow of the stream, but has never tried the feeling of hot springs. At night, outside the forest, Black Feather and several Pokémons were setting up camp, and Murkrow was constantly circling around the camp, alert for attacks from wild Pokémons. Eevee dragged a tablecloth and slowly spread it on the lawn, eager to lie down and savor the softness. In contrast, Megalodon was much quieter, lying in a small pool that he had bought before and could automatically build at any time. Squeaky! Crackle! Accompanied by bursts of crisp sounds, the night quietly enveloped the earth. Black Feather sat quietly beside the campfire, the firelight flickered, reflecting his slightly tired but expectant face. Black Feather curled up slightly, and in his arms, he hugged the extremely cute little Eevee tightly. At this moment, Eevee was like a quiet little angel, and the soft fur gently brushed Black Feather's skin, bringing a delicate touch. Black Feather lowered his head and stared at the little guy in his arms, with a hint of tenderness in his eyes. Heiyu fiddled with a small handle similar to a thermometer. Intimacy detector. Before leaving, the Green Town Pokémon shop had just put on new products. Heiyu took out the handle and carefully swept it towards Eevee. A beam of red light quickly passed by and then pointed at himself. The originally blank screen above the handle instantly lit up with 7 dazzling heart patterns. Full score of love. Because there are only 7 hearts in total on this intimacy detector, and now all of them are lit up, there is no doubt that there is an extraordinary bond between Heiyu and Eevee. Thinking of this, Heiyu couldn't help but look at Eevee, who was sleeping in his arms again. The little guy closed his eyes tightly, breathing steadily and rhythmically, and obviously fell into a sweet dream. It seems that Eevee's level experience is enough to support her evolution. Heiyu's movements became more gentle, stroking Eevee's fur, and thought happily. Chapter 91. Eevee, use Shadow Clone. At Heiyu's command, the Eevee standing on the lawn instantly split into 2. Another Eevee that looked exactly the same appeared, but compared to the original body's resolute expression, the clone's expression was obviously dull, and you could tell them apart with careful observation. The main training of Shadow Clone has 3 directions. First, the realism of the shadow, second, the speed of using moves, and third, the duration of the clone. Little Eevee, you don't have to worry about the latter 2 for now, just make the shadow more realistic. Heiyu squatted down and stroked Eevee's little head, giving her encouragement and teaching at the same time. This is the benefit of having a trainer. If it were a wild Pokémon to train, it would definitely not be possible to make such a detailed plan, and it would be completely random. Even many wild Pokémon don't understand how to fight, they only know how to use skills to attack, and before they are captured by humans, they don't know what kind of fighting method is suitable for them. Just like in the wild, you often see Pokémon with extremely high physical attack always use special attack moves, and Pokémon that are good at defense can only attack. Wild Pokémon without trainer's command are often more than half as weak as Pokémon of the same level. Of course, some wild Pokémon will also find a way of survival suitable for themselves in the wild after reaching a higher level. So many trainers are very resistant to, and even resist, taming some already formed wild Pokémon. Because it is difficult to correct the fighting methods of these Pokémons in the wild for many years, trainers still need to spend time to make up for the mistakes in their previous physical training. Since it is so troublesome, it is better to directly tame a Pokémon cub and train it from an early age. Not only loyalty and intimacy can be guaranteed. More importantly, a suitable training method can be formulated for them, so that they will not be like wild Pokémon, without trainers training, wasting time, wasting potential, and even going astray. Of course, there are also some Pokémon who can find a training method suitable for themselves in the wild and grow well. Of course, these are exceptions among exceptions, a minority among a minority. But by chance, Heiyu met one today. Iron Claw Lobster, hot water. Heiyu's agile figure kept running in the jungle, and the Iron Claw Lobster struggled to keep up. A stream of water with a scalding heat wave shot towards the Pokémons in front, but who knew that the Pokémons would take this blow and didn't seem to feel any pain. Oh my god, it's water attribute again. Counting the previous fire attribute and ice attribute, this floating bubble has mastered 3 forms of transformation. And looking at the rapid switching between forms, it can be seen that the proficiency is very high. I can't let it go. At Heiyu's command, Murkrow rushed out of the jungle next to it again, and a breeze emerged and blessed all our Pokémons. Downwind state. Eevee jumped between the branches, following the master to hunt Pokémons, especially the feeling of jumping between the branches. So novel. Eevee condensed a dark ball and suddenly fired it at the blue gas in front. It was Shadow Ball, which was learned not long ago through the skill disc, and it was also a rare attack method of Eevee. The black light ball with ghost attribute energy suddenly hit the floating bubble that changed into the rainy day form. The body of the floating bubble hit a big tree, but it was easily bounced away like a sponge. There was no secondary damage from hitting the tree. The floating bubble itself is made of a ball of gas, which is immune to physical impact damage. However, the body of the floating bubble in the rainy day form is like a sponge, and water drips on the ground from time to time. The floating bubble staggered to his feet, and a huge balloon condensed on his chest, gradually changing from milky white to sky blue. The weather ball was suddenly shot out. Depending on the weather when it is used, the power and attributes of the move will change. Although it is sunny now, the attribute of the weather ball should be fire. However, the influence of the weather was forcibly changed in the rainy day form, and the weather ball shot out is of water attribute. While launching the attack, the floating bubble was not idle either. It instantly transformed into an ice attribute and became a floating bubble in the form of a snowy day. Its transformation speed was almost instantaneous, which surprised Heiyu even more. A wild genius Pokémon. The reason why Heiyu wanted to subdue this floating bubble was not only because of its understanding of form transformation. More importantly, it was because this Pokémon was naturally gifted with weather-related skills. The control of the floating bubble Pokémon on the weather was unmatched by any other Pokémon. In 2AT Level 0, you can learn 3 weather skills: Pray for Rain, Sunny Day, and Hail. Although there are many Pokémon that can learn similar weather skills, such as Melodic and Swamp King, they can also learn to pray for rain. But the level they want to learn is often very high, almost above level 40 or 50. And Bubble can learn it at level 20. Black Feather saw the hardship of the Iron Claw Lobster learning to pray for rain, and was having a headache for it. Such a good weather skill teacher came to the door. Not to mention that the transformation between the forms of this Pokémon is so smooth, it can be seen that its own qualifications are not low. Although it can't be trained as the main force, it can join my logistics team, and it doesn't count as burying this bubble. However, this bubble seems to have a very high IQ. It actually knows the restraint between attributes. After changing into the snow cloud attribute form, the weather ball's attack is aimed at Murkrow. The ice attribute weather ball launched another attack. It must be said that the floating bubble, which is made of gas, is also very good at escaping. If it weren't for the Dark Crow's Tailwind blessing, the Black Feather's Pokémons would probably have escaped. The exhausted floating bubble ran to a cliff and found that there was no way out. Just when he was about to fight to the death. Megalodon, Water Jet. As soon as Black Feather's voice rang out, a blue lightning-like water column suddenly hit the floating bubble. Its speed was so fast that even the floating bubble didn't react. The one who attacked the floating bubble was the Megalodon, which had already been superimposed on the charging and accelerating state. Go, Pokeball! Black Feather threw out a yellow high-level ball. Facing such a Pokémon, it was worth his attention. Ding dong! With the crisp sound after shaking, Black Feather couldn't help grinning. With such a floating bubble, the Pokémons may spend less effort in training weather-related moves in the future. Good, another member for the logistics team. Heiyu took out the Pokémon encyclopedia, shrunk the advanced ball and put it on the back. Beep beep beep. Floating bubble, a weather-type Pokémon, the Pokémon's appearance changes with the weather. In order to protect its small body, it has gained the ability to use the huge energy of nature. Features: uncertain weather, gender, female, attributes, general, height 0.3 meters, weight 0.8 kilograms, excellent energy control. The moves mastered are: impact, headbutt, sparks, water gun, fine snow, sunny day, pray for rain, hail, weather ball. Inherited moves: lucky spell. Looking at the 6 big words excellent energy control commented on the encyclopedia, Heiyu said to the Iron Claw Lobster with emotion, Iron Claw Lobster, you are blessed. The best teacher of weather-type moves floating bubble. All the talents in the world are in my arms. Chapter 92. Heiyu asked several Pokémons to guard him, and then released the unconscious floating bubble. Oh, why bother? If you just let me subdue you, you won't have to be beaten, right? Yu sighed softly, took out a bottle of delicate medicine spray from his arms, carefully opened the bottle cap, and then gently sprayed it on the wound on Floating Bubble's body. As the spray touched the wound, a cool feeling instantly spread throughout Floating Bubble's body. It suddenly woke up the unconscious Floating Bubble. Yo! A crisp and alert cry sounded, and Floating Bubble suddenly opened his eyes, and his body instantly launched like a spring. Floating Bubble widened his eyes and looked around in horror. Pokémons with hideous and ferocious faces were staring at him. Especially the huge shark and the lobster waving its huge claws, their ferocious expressions made people shudder. As if they would pounce on her and tear her apart at any time. Faced with so many powerful enemies, the inexperienced Floating Bubble could not help but feel helpless and terrified. She thought to herself, maybe I shouldn't leave that place, and I shouldn't be so curious about the outside world. Floating Bubble's petite body trembled slightly, and a few wisps of air flowed out of her body made of gas. Hee, Floating Bubble, don't be afraid. From now on, you are a Pokémon with a trainer. Here, I'll give you a small gift. Yu showed a kind look, slowly took out the energy cube from the space backpack, and fed it to Floating Bubble. In his opinion, no wild Pokémon could refuse such a delicacy. But the result surprised Yu. Floating Bubble wandered close to Yu and sniffed the energy cube with his nose. Carefully took a small bite, chewed it gently, and spit it out, showing a look of disgust. Yu was slightly surprised, but then he realized that the taste might not match, so he changed to another energy cube. Here, you should like this one with floating bubbles, I added a lot of spices in it. Yu took out another pink energy cube, which was a snack he specially prepared for Eevee. Although it had no nutrition and energy, it tasted wonderful. Yu didn't believe that any Pokémon could resist such deliciousness. Yo. Floating Bubble tasted a small bite again, but still showed a disgusted expression. This made Eevee very angry, but her exclusive snack, you ate it, but you still showed this expression, what does it mean? For a while, Eevee looked at Floating Bubble with a bit of unkindness. Yu was really confused this time. Logically speaking, the energy cube he made was fine. Break off a small piece, put it in your mouth, and taste it carefully. That's no problem. Yu was puzzled. Since the temptation of delicious food failed, he could only use force to regain it. After the 4 Pokémons took turns to fight, the Floating Bubble was beaten up, and even the body made of gas became much lighter. Obviously, several air currents ran away just now. Yu was a little worried. After checking the Pokémon illustration, he learned that these air currents could be collected by water vapor. This made him feel relieved, but he still aroused a lot of curiosity about the peculiar body structure of this kind of Pokémons. There is no time to lose, let's set off quickly. As long as we successfully cross this forest, Fuyan Town is ahead. Yu said, while rubbing his hands, eager to step forward. However, just when he raised his foot, something unexpected happened. The Floating Bubble, which had been quiet and well behaved, suddenly made a crisp and rapid cry again. Yo. The Floating Bubble seemed to be pulled by some mysterious force, floating lightly in another completely different direction. It seemed to convey some information to Yu in its own unique way, and signaled Yu to follow closely. Faced with the sudden change in front of him, Yu couldn't help but feel suspicious. Is the Floating Bubble taking me to find its parents and ask for help from them? Is it deliberately leading me into the trap they carefully set up, to entice you into a trap? Yu did not blindly follow them immediately. He stopped and fell into thought. The cautious and suspicious character he developed over the years made him always highly vigilant about everything around him, especially when it came to his own safety. Yu knew that people's hearts were treacherous, and if he was not careful, he might fall into a situation of no return. Although this idea was a bit extreme, but it also saved his life many times. Yu took advantage of the moment and took out the Pokeball, took back the Floating Bubble, and then locked it tightly. Sorry, Floating Bubble. He muttered to the Pokeball. Yu decided to explore the direction where the Floating Bubble was just wandering. Looking at the Pokémons around him, a sense of security came to him. With you here, my safety is guaranteed. You are my most solid barrier. Yu didn't believe that there would be such a high-level Pokémon in such a small forest. The level of the Floating Bubble of more than 20 levels had surprised him. After all, along the way, even in the core area of the forest, the level of the Pokémons was mostly between a few levels and more than 10 levels. And the expression of the floating bubble just now didn't look like a disguise at all. It seemed to be a subconscious action. Yu thought he had a good eye, otherwise he would not have grown all the way to the present and won the favor of Mr. Kyun-li and the Joey family. Just like that, after thinking about it, Yu told the Pokémons beside him, if I encounter any danger, you should use it to defend it immediately. Just claws. Ibi. Giant shark. Gaga. Several Pokémons remembered it silently in their hearts. In fact, this was not the first time that Yu said this to them. As for the danger now, defending it immediately has become the first rule in their hearts, deeply engraved in their minds. Yu was very satisfied with this result. The most important thing is to save your life at any time. As the sun slowly set, Yu had carefully explored the forest for several hours, and did not find anything different during this period. One of the weird things was a bottomless cave. Yu explored it for half an hour, and it was still a dark passage. There seemed to be no end in the cave, so Yu simply retreated temporarily. Is it really that cave? Yu leaned against a boulder and thought secretly. Murkrow was alert on the tree trunk nearby, and the Iron Claw was guarding nearby. These had become the Pokémon's subconscious actions. In the end, they decided to call out Floating Bubble and ask him clearly. However, they first let a few Pokémons form a circle to prevent Floating Bubble from escaping. After the safety measures were taken, they released it. Yo yo yo! As soon as Floating Bubble came out, it excitedly cried to Black Feather with a wronged look, as if accusing the ruthless new master. Black Feather would not buy this, and pointed to the cave not far away. What you wanted to say just now, did you want to take me to this cave? Black Feather asked very bluntly. In this situation, Floating Bubble is just a fish on the chopping board, so he doesn't need to be hypocritical or beat around the bush, just ask directly. Yo! Floating Bubble shook his body excitedly, and a slightly curved hair on his head instantly stood up. Yu saw Floating Bubble's excitement, turned his head and looked at the dark cave, thinking about something. Chapter 93. In the dim cave, a young man in an adventure suit was carefully exploring. Yu slowly came to a reef, looked at the mark left above, and thought to himself, this is the place I explored before. He explored for half an hour before reaching this place, leaving a square mark. Yu looked into the dim passage, and the Pokémons around him were cautiously alert. Murkrow is the most unique in this dark environment, so Yu sent it to explore the front, and Floating Bubble was watched by Eevee with grievance. In the silent cave, Yu seemed to be able to hear his own breathing. After walking for an unknown period of time, a sound of dripping water came into his ears. This sound is the sound of water flowing. Is this an underground river? Yu was a pirate at sea for many years, so he was extremely sensitive to the sound of water flowing. He had already engraved the sound of this water flow in his mind. Yu concentrated and forced himself to keep his spirits up, and continued to explore. As he went deeper, the sound of the rushing water became louder and louder, and Yu became more and more certain that there must be an underground river here. Before Yu could continue to explore it, an Pokémon suddenly jumped out of the darkness. The Pokémon was green all over, with a big mouth and a huge lotus leaf on its head. Its walking posture was also quite strange, as if it was dancing. Lottie Pokémon, Lottie Kappa. Yu's eyes lit up, and a hint of surprise appeared on his face. It's not that this Lottie Kappa is so good. After all, it can be seen from its slightly smaller than the average size given in the illustration that it has definitely evolved in advance and has not developed its body's potential well. Therefore, Yu would not have any thoughts of recovering and cultivating it. The reason for the surprise is that the Lotus Hat Boy needs a water stone to evolve into Lottie Kappa. Since they didn't encounter any Pokémon along the way, Yu guessed that the Lottie Kappa in front of them should live in the underground river ahead. There must be a raw ore of water stone near the underground river. The Lottie Kappa in front of them should have evolved after accidentally coming into contact with the water stone. For Yu, this Lottie Kappa may be average, or even bad. But for most ordinary trainers, Lottie Kappa is already a very high-quality Pokémon. The ordinary free and easy and rain disc characteristics are both top-notch. Even if the hidden characteristic self-willed is a little worse, it can be matched with the shake dance to form a good auxiliary. Self-willed, because I do my own thing, I will not become confused. Shake dance, shake and dance, causing myself and the surrounding Pokémon to fall into a state of confusion. The attributes of grass and water make the flying attribute skills of Murkrow the only one in Yu's team that can restrain it. As expected, As soon as the Lottie Kappa appeared, it spit out a rapid water gun from its mouth, and it shot directly at Yu. The iron claw lobster beside him waved its claws and scattered the water gun. Looking for death. Dark Crow, blessing with the wind, peck and drill. Faced with the sudden attack of this wild Pokémon, Yu did not panic at all, because he knew that the Pokémons around him were his most solid barrier. He did not need to command at all, and knew to take the initiative to defend. Ga. The Dark Crow roared hoarsely, and seemed extremely angry about the wild Pokémon attacking its master. A pair of black feather wings shook violently, raising gusts of wind, and rushed towards the Lottie Kappa like a flash of lightning. With the blessing of the wind state, the speed soared, and the sharp bird beak pecked at the Lottie Kappa with extreme speed. Murkrow has grown very fast recently, especially in Green Town. After 10 consecutive victories against the club, his combat experience and skill proficiency have risen by more than 1 level. Not to mention the nutrients and energy blocks that Yu prepares for him every day, which makes Murkrow's strength and speed soar to an incredible level for Pokémon of the same level. As expected, before Lottie Kappa could react, he was pecked by Murkrow and was blown to the reef beside him by the force of the tailwind. There was a loud crash. The secondary damage caused by the collision made Lottie Kappa scream again. There was a gap on the lotus leaf above Lottie Kappa's head, and a trace of water seeped out from it. Continue to attack and use Scare. Little Eevee, use Shadow Ball. Yu would not show mercy, and would not pay attention to the code of conduct, and would directly let Little Eevee go up to fight in a group. In panic, the Lottie Kappa used another skill, Super Absorption. However, it seemed that it did not have enough combat experience, and the 7 or 8 green energy bars it extended did not hit any of them. Yu stood not far away, watching the 2 little ones beat up the Lottie Kappa, and finally knocked it unconscious, then slowly approached, threw out a Pokeball, and subdued it. Beep beep. Lottie Kappa, Lottie Pokémon, the evolved form of Lotus Hat Kid, will start dancing if it hears cheerful music. It is said that it will be attracted by the singing of children on an outing and appear. Level 19, Attributes, Water, Grass, Gender, Male, Height 1.3 meters, Weight 50 kilograms, Poor development, Lack of nutrition, Characteristics, Self-willed. Mastered moves, Bubble Ray, Water Gun, Shout, Natural Force, Scare, Absorb, Super Absorb, Shake Dance, High Five Surprise Attack. Inherited moves, Sweet Fragrance. Yu raised his eyebrows and was slightly surprised. Unexpectedly, although this Lottie Kappa is generally developed and evolves early to waste potential, its characteristic is actually hidden self-willed, although it is not as good as Leisurely and Rain Pan. But with the Shake Dance, it is also a very stable control. And it has inherited the sweet scent. Not many Pokémon can learn this trick. After using the sweet scent, it can emit a charming scent, thus attracting wild Pokémon to approach. This Lottie Kappa is still very good. Although Yu has no intention of keeping it, it should be worth more than 100,000 alliance coins if it is sold. If you meet someone who particularly needs the sweet scent, the value can be higher, maybe it can be sold at a high price of 200,000 alliance coins. For example, some Pokémon hunters who capture Pokémon in the wild and sell them. It's just that Pokémon hunters seem to be less active in the Hoenn region. Most of them gather in the Sinnoh region. Yu released the unconscious Lottie Kappa again, and after a simple treatment of the wound on his body, he took it back again. From beginning to end, Lottie Kappa did not wake up. But even so, the Iron Claw Lobster was still fully focused, guarding Yu like a bodyguard. Chapter 94. After resting, Yu continued to explore the cave and walked into the depths of darkness. Yo yo yo! The closer he got to the depths, the more he could feel the humidity in the air, and at the same time, the floating bubbles began to get excited. Yu was already sure that this was not a trap, but something inside that was attracting the floating bubbles. Could it be the water stone? Yu speculated secretly in his heart. As the sound of rushing water gradually resounded throughout the passage, the strength of the wild Pokémons that Yu encountered became higher and higher. He encountered 2 Pokémons above level 20 in succession. As expected, they were all solved by the Iron Claw Lobster, and he could clearly feel the improvement in the strength of the Pokémons. Even the Iron Claw Lobster has reached level 35. You know, since reaching level 30, it has become slower to increase 1 level. Because the primary energy cubes have little effect on the improvement of this level of Pokémon, perhaps for ordinary trainers, Being able to allow all Pokémon to eat energy cubes stably is already a very good training. But for Yu, this is far from enough. But unfortunately, his current production level is not enough to support him to make intermediate evil energy cubes. Therefore, Yu can only buy those energy cubes from the market. Fortunately, Yu is still a member of the Breeder Guild, so there is a slight discount. And Murkrow's level has also exceeded level 20. After all, the main training object along the way is Murkrow. Drip drip drip. Gulp. The reefs beside Yu kept dripping water drops on the ground, so that Yu could clearly feel the dampness under his feet. Fortunately, he was wearing special exploration shoes with anti-slip effect, so he could move freely in this complex terrain. The whole passage is shaped like the mouth of a gourd, and it becomes wider as you go inside. When Yu finally passed the last short section of the road, a large opening about 10 meters wide appeared. Yu trotted forward and saw an underground river. The turbulent water hit the reefs, splashing water from time to time and dripping on the shore. Yu subconsciously approached, but saw that there were actually wisps of water vapor coming out of the river. The Pokémon ball on his waist shook, and Yu released the floating bubbles. The floating bubbles that just came out kept wandering happily above the river, jumping with joy. At the same time, the body absorbed the water vapor rising from the river like a small vortex. Yu had time to observe the surrounding scene. I saw wisps of water vapor coming out of the river, and finally rose to the top of the cave, and on the top of the cave, there were sky blue icicles. These icicles were like steel needles nailed to the top of the cave. Yu slowly put his hand into the river, and a warm feeling instantly spread throughout his body. He immediately thought to himself, ice and fire. In the same cave, the upper part is extremely cold, while the river in the lower part, or the hot spring, is warm. The icicles above drip into water and fall into the river below. Water vapor emerges from the river below, slowly rising to the top, and finally being soaked by the cold air and turning into frost again. Over and over again. An ecological environment chain has been formed. No wonder Floating Bubble has such a high understanding of weather skills. It turns out that he lives in this kind of environment that is like a masterpiece of nature. Floating Bubble happily absorbs water vapor in this environment. You can clearly feel that the floating gas in this cave is different. Could it be that the reason why the floating bubble can change freely in 3 forms and has such a high understanding of weather-related moves is because of this special environment? The floating bubble that Yu subdued was of very ordinary aptitude, but her amazing understanding of weather-related moves and her proficiency in changing in 3 forms surprised Yu. Originally, he thought that this was because the floating bubble had a high understanding, but now it seems that he may need to consider it carefully. Yu slowly stretched out his palm and stroked the charming gas in the air. The airflow was blue and red. The floating bubble happily approached Yu's palm, and a suction force emerged from its body. The airflow in his hand was instantly absorbed by the floating bubble. Seeing this scene, Yu lowered his head and thought secretly. He took out several bottles from the space backpack and collected these airflows one by one. He could be sure that this was a brand new material that he had never seen before. It can even be said to be a treasure of heaven and earth. If we prepare 100 floating bubbles in the future and let them live here collectively, and use these air currents to comprehend weather-related moves and form transformations, we can eventually form a weather army of floating bubbles. Yu had a bold idea in his mind. At that time, he would form a water, fire, and ice Pokémon army according to the 3 weathers of praying for rain, sunny days and hail. How powerful would the weather moves based on the floating bubble army be? If 100 floating bubbles use praying for rain at the same time, can they be comparable to the heavy rain caused by Kyogre? If 100 are not enough, 1000? 10,000. The thoughts in Yu's heart gushed out, and countless bold and absurd ideas collided. However, the movements in his hands did not slow down at all. He only stopped after filling all the bottles with this special airflow. But this underground hot spring is not connected to Fuyan Town, right? Yu suddenly thought in his heart. After all, Fuyan Town is famous for its natural open-air hot springs. Or is it affected by Chimney Mountain? Yu made another bold guess in his heart. After all, Chimney Mountain is not far from here. It is a dormant volcano, and there is lava and magma underground. Yu continued to move forward. When he came to the shore, his eyes inadvertently swept across the river, and unexpectedly found some traces of Pokémons in it. However, it was a little disappointing that most of these Pokémons belonged to species like Uglius and Magikarp. These two Pokémons have no demands on the environment they depend on for survival. They have a strong ability to adapt, whether it is a clear stream, or a dirty and even severely damaged stream. Polluted waters can survive tenaciously. In this way, Yu ran around in this area for a whole day and night, but he never saw a single person. This situation is enough to show that this place is undoubtedly an excellent hiding place. Yu couldn't help but feel a strong desire to possess the place from the bottom of his heart. He wanted to take this place for himself. As time went by, his greed grew. After all this time of exploration, the original cave should be the only entrance and exit. If it can be completely blocked, then this place will probably never be known. Yu thought to himself. Yu has never claimed to be a gentleman. He has always been a thorough egoist who only considers his own interests. At this moment, in Yu's eyes, the mysterious and deep cave in front of him has become his own private territory. Chapter 95. Finally, Yu returned to the cave he entered at the beginning, moved a few reefs at the entrance of the cave, and asked the iron claw lobster to polish it with its claws and scales, disguising it as a natural formation. This will be my secret base in the future. Yu sighed in his heart. The entire underground dark river is not long. Yu explored it for a day and a night and reached the end. There were not many traces of Pokémons in it. Yu was very satisfied with this feng shui treasure land. And that mysterious red and blue airflow. Yu sat down on a reef that was polished in the cave and took out a series of materials and tools from the space backpack. He began to study that airflow. After Yu racked his brains to analyze, and with the assistance of a series of data, and the personal experience of floating bubbles, he finally determined the specific role of this red and blue airflow. It can increase the Pokémon's perception of rainy and sunny days, and increase the understanding of the skills of praying for rain and sunny days in disguise. Red and blue air currents, this material appears for the first time in the world, so I'll name you Sunny and Rainy Flowing Rhythm. Yu is going to find time to go to the Cultivators Guild to name and register this material. This material has a relatively simple function, so it is not precious, but it is just a bit niche. However, as a monopoly merchant, Yu can naturally raise prices at will. Just release a little bit each time, and you can make a lot of money by relying on the curiosity of the majority of cultivators for new materials. But I'd better use it for myself first, and with my current strength, I'm afraid that if I want to monopolize the business, I will soon be coveted by others. If Yu wants to do this business now, it's better to cooperate with the Joey family or the Chinjua gym. Yu hurriedly threw these thoughts that are still far away out of his mind, because he is about to arrive at a new town, Kuma-en Town. Kuma-en Town is located in the center of the main continent of the entire Hone region, directly at the foot of Chimney Mountain. Therefore, open-air hot springs have been formed nearby. At the same time, there are no fewer elderly people here than in Green Town, and almost all of them come here to retire. After entering the Pokémon Center, Yu checked into the room as soon as possible and rested in bed for a whole afternoon. Survival in the wild is indeed not liked by most trainers. In addition to the dangers, it is a huge test for both body and mind. Yu went to the restaurant to fill his stomach near the evening. Let's go to the task release area of the Alliance to see if there are any tasks for Lottie Kappa. Yu thought to himself. If it can be submitted to the Alliance first, it would be the best. After all, just for a Pokémon, Yu is still reluctant to go to the black market again. What's more, what if the tasks released by the Alliance provide Alliance points? The Alliance itself will provide a medium platform for many trainers to trade and buy and sell Pokémons, under the pretext of being supervised by the Alliance to prevent Pokémon hunters from stealing. But the final reward will be charged by the Alliance for some handling fees. After all, the most profitable business in the world is always Pokémon-related business. The Alliance will naturally not allow other forces to compete for such a piece of fat meat. Yu took a look at the tasks for buying Lottie Kappa, and almost all of them were settled with Alliance coins. The few that could provide points also had certain requirements for Lottie Kappa itself. Either the characteristics were required to be free and easy or Rain Pan, or the Lottie Kappa inherited moves or excellent qualifications. Finally, after thinking about it, Yu decided to keep it with him for the time being. He was not short of money now, and the sweet fragrance of Lottie Kappa might be useful to him. It's just evening, let's go experience the open-air hot springs here. Yu rubbed his eyebrows. Surviving in the wild these days really made him exhausted. Especially when exploring the underground dark river, he hardly had a good rest. Right now, it's just the time to rely on hot springs to eliminate fatigue. There are many types of hot springs in Fuyan town. In addition to some private hot springs run by the private sector, there are also hot springs run by the Pokémon Center. Of course, the most popular one is undoubtedly the gym in Fuyan town. The Fuyan hot spring founded by it is the most popular. Yu rode his bicycle to the entrance of the hot spring. People coming and going all had towels hanging around their necks, and some rough men were shirtless. Good evening, welcome to Fuyan hot spring. A sexy beauty in cool clothes sat at the entrance to welcome guests, and bottles of milky white milk were placed on the table. Mooing milk. After spending 2,000 alliance coins to buy the luxury package of the hot spring, Yu successfully received a dozen free mooing cows. Milk. I have to say, milk is really white. After taking a look, Yu retracted his gaze. Although she had a good figure, she was not as good looking as Miss Joy. After seeing many stunning beauties in the Pokémon world, Yu's vision has been raised a lot. Under the respectful guidance of the staff, Yu stepped into this unique place, an open-air hot spring pool surrounded by thick wooden boards, like a wall. When he stepped into it, a warm and moist breath came to his face. Yu couldn't help but sigh, ah. Cool. Then, he took a cautious step and slowly dived into the clear hot spring water. The water surface was slightly rippling, and as his body gradually sank into the water, Yu felt an unprecedented relaxation and tranquility. Yu only let his shoulders and head float out of the water. Through the hazy water vapor, you can see a satisfied smile on Yu's pretty face. It is worthy of being the hot spring that is said to cure all diseases on the internet. Although it is a bit exaggerated, it is definitely good for the body to soak in the hot spring here all year round, because Yu can clearly smell it, and there is a small smell of Chinese medicine. Although it is very faint, it can't be hidden from his nose. Little Eevee swam in the hot spring like a dog paddling, and his hair was wet, which made the little princess quite uncomfortable. Hey, little Eevee, go up and let the iron claw lobster give you a shower. Yu picked up Eevee and sent him back to the shore. After the iron claw lobster heard the command, water vapor suddenly gathered in the air with one claw, and finally formed a dark cloud of medium size. Tiny raindrops slowly fell from the dark cloud, like fine cotton, but as time passed, the rain became heavier. Rain-seeking skill. The iron claw lobster has also taken sunny and rainy rhythm, and this special gas is very helpful for understanding the rain-seeking technique. In addition to the floating bubble, the weather teacher carefully taught by the side, and the iron claw lobster's proficiency in the rain-seeking skill can be said to be extremely fast. Although it is not as easy as the floating bubble, Yu believes that the progress will be faster and faster in the future. Because he wants to use this new material sunny and rainy rhythm to develop an energy block that can help Pokémons learn the rain-seeking and sunny moves. Once successful, it will make much more money than selling raw materials. Because even if others get the energy block, they can deduce the specific materials in it with their superb cultivation technology. But when the main material is monopolized, no one can imitate it. Even the most powerful cultivator in the world can't do it. Chapter 96. Just as Yu was constructing the outline of the formula in his mind, a bright white light suddenly burst out from the body of the little Eevee who was drying next to him. The white light was so dazzling in the dark night. Evolved? Yu didn't have time to wipe his body. He was shirtless and only wore a set of standard underwear on his lower body. He suddenly stood up from the hot spring and hurriedly stepped on the water stains to the shore. I didn't expect Eevee to evolve in this situation, just by taking a hot spring bath. But this can be explained. After all, the evolution of Pokémons is a very magical process. Until now, there are still very few studies on the result of evolution in the scientific research community. As for the impact of evolution, it may be that the level of energy is not enough, it may be the lack of combat stimulation, or it may be that the mood is affected. All kinds of situations are different. Some Pokémons will complete their evolution after a hardy and fierce battle. Some Pokémons will complete their evolution in a drowsy dream. There are even some Pokémons on the internet that evolve suddenly while eating. Therefore, although Yu was surprised by the evolution of Eevee, he quickly calmed down. It's night now, and there are no evolution stones like Moss Stone or Water Stone around, which means that the evolution form is Moon Eevee. Yu looked a little nervous, waiting quietly for the white light to dissipate, although it was not the first time to experience the evolution of Pokémons up close. But watching the mysterious changes of species again was still shocking. Soon, the white light dissipated. A slightly cold Moon Eevee appeared in front of Yu. The body shape is very similar to the original EV, but the whole body has turned into black, which represents the evil attribute. There are golden halos on the forehead, legs, tail, and ears, which embellish the lonely black with a touch of noble gold. A pair of ruby-like eyes exudes charming light in the dark night. The Pokémon from the Dark Knight Umbreon. Umbreon's slightly arrogant expression showed a hint of cuteness, twisting its newly evolved body, as if it had not yet adapted. Compared to the original fluffy and dense hair of Eevee, Umbreon's whole body can be described as smooth, especially the large tail that looks like a pillow. With the embellishment of the golden halo, it looks like an Pokémon from the Dark Knight. Hei tried to suppress his excitement and approached, and was about to touch Umbreon's head with his hand subconsciously, but was suddenly dodged. Hei was slightly stunned, but he quickly reacted, slapping his forehead in annoyance and said, "Haha, I forgot that Umbreon will secrete sweat-containing toxins from its pores when it is emotionally excited." Hei looked at the aggrieved Umbreon, and he liked it more and more in his heart. Moon Eevee also felt wronged that he could not be touched by his master, with his ears drooping like a frustrated kitten. Hei half squatted, with a doting smile on his face, and said, "Moon Eevee, it's okay, I will wait for you when you learn to control the sweat secreted by your body." Hei made a promise beside the hot spring. Under the moonlight, the scattered light shone on Hei's face. Moon Eevee walked to Hei with a smart figure. "Moon Eevee." With a soft call, he stepped into the water with a smart figure and jumped into the hot spring. When he came up again, Moon Eevee's body was soaked by water stains, and the sweat with toxins on the surface of his body had been washed clean. With a smart figure, he ran happily to Hei's feet and rubbed Hei's legs with her soft body. Under the moonlight, the Pokémon from the moonlight smiled intimately at the boy. Moon Eevee. After completing the exit procedures of the hot spring, Hei hurried back to the room of the Pokémon Center. "Moon Eevee, please excuse me for a moment and enter the Pokeball." Hei wanted to conduct a simple data check. Beep beep. Moon Eevee, the moonlight Pokémon, evolves at night when the intimacy of Eevee reaches a certain level. When excited, it will secrete sweat-containing toxins from its pores to protect itself. Level, 20, Gender, Female, Attribute, Evil, Height, 1.2 meters, Weight, 30 kilograms, Excellent Development, Good Qualifications. The moves that have been mastered are, Impact, Tail Shaking, Help, Throwing Sand, Round Pupils, Flash of Lightning, Strange Light, Surprise Attack, Chase, Shadow Ball, Hold, Shadow Clone, Refreshed. Inherited moves, Yawn, Prey. On the morning of the second day, Hei felt refreshed after tidying up his appearance. He went out of the Pokémon Center. Moon Eevee. Moon Eevee still doesn't like to stay in the Pokeball, and Hei naturally won't force her. So the two of them headed towards the Kami Gym. Arriving in front of the majestic gym, Hei looked at the huge wall made of red walls and red tiles, and once again sighed at the gym's wealth. It's worthy of being a gym that has produced the 4 heavenly kings. It has stood on the land of Hone for hundreds of years and has a deep foundation. The Kami Gym in front of him is not like the newly built Jinju Gym. It is probably several times larger than Mr. Kyun Lee's gym. In addition, the interior is decorated like an ancient palace. As long as you stand halfway up the mountain, you can overlook the entire gym. Unlike the majestic gym, there are more than a dozen old men standing in the shadow of the trees on the street at the door, seemingly chatting casually. Hei walked forward politely and asked, "Excuse me, grandpas, is this the Kamahane Gym?" Hearing this, everyone turned their eyes to a fat old man wearing a brown shirt and grey hair. "Hee, young man, welcome to challenge the gym. We are residents of the town. This is the Kamahane Gym." The fat old man pushed the glasses cap between his nose and said with a smile. After Hei bowed politely, he stepped into the gate and saw the figure of the gym apprentice inside. But before leaving, he looked back at the fat old man and thought to himself, "Sure enough, if I'm not wrong, that's the former 4 heavenly kings of the Hone region and the owner of the Kamahane Gym." Hei's mouth outlined a smile, thinking that he had finally not revealed a flaw just now, and tried hard to create the image of a polite trainer. As a person with memories of 2 lives, some information gaps in his previous life always bring unexpected surprises to Hei. The owner of the Kama-en Gym is called Mura, a passionate and carefree fat man. He used to be one of the 4 heavenly kings, but now he has retired and has taken over the Kama-en Gym. It's worth it that I greeted every old man passing by on the road before I came here. I finally met the real owner. Heiyu concluded that the fat man was Mura. In addition to the vague memory of his appearance in his previous life, the reaction of the group of old men just now also indirectly confirmed it. When he talked about the comma and gym, a group of people's eyes were all focused on the fat man. Heiyu also concluded that the man was definitely the Mura he was looking for. Although there is no chance to connect with him now, it is also good to leave a good impression in my heart. Heiyu thought about his own little thoughts in his heart. In his opinion, if you want to stand out in this world, you must learn to use all available resources. With the help of all possible ways to climb, and finally bet on a little probability, it is possible to succeed. This is his unique belief. Chapter 97. When Heiyu entered the gym and the door slowly closed, a group of old men watching the excitement at the door also retracted their gazes. One of the old men joked to Mura, "Hey, you haven't retired yet, so you are so confident to hand over the gym to her." Mura twisted his fat body, lay on the armchair, and said leisurely, "Children and grandchildren have their own blessings. I can only help her so much. I lost my face a while ago to get a good Pokémon cub from the Alliance. And I will leave the Fengyuan area soon. After seeing the Pokémon Chuanliu made up by Cashew, I decided to travel to the Chengdu area and let her practice first. After I officially retire in a few years, I will hand over the gym to that child Yasha." Mura picked up a newspaper and covered his face. Somehow, he always felt a familiar smell on Heiyu just now, and this smell made him hate it. Why does it smell a bit like Genji? Mura couldn't help but curiously check the information of the Pokémon registered by Heiyu in the gym. When he saw the two water attribute Pokémons, Crayfish and Megalodon, he suddenly realized it. "Haha," I said, "it turned out to be the disgusting water, just like Genji, the captain who only knows how to be on the sea all day. The salty and fishy smell is disgusting." Mura has always looked down on Genji, who is also one of the four heavenly kings. Leaving a good impression on the top leaders of these alliances is just some plans made by Heiyu casually. Even if it doesn't work, it's good to leave a good impression. After registering the Pokémon before challenging the gym, he waited silently. After all, there were two challengers queuing in front of him. Compared with the first two gyms that had just been established or had just replaced the gym owner, the Kamuan gym in front of him is undoubtedly more mature. The gym owner Mura also has a relatively good reputation on the internet, because he was the former Fire Type 4 Heavenly Kings and took over the gym after retirement. Except for a few people who say that he is carefree, most people have a very high opinion of the Kamugen gym. This time, Heiyu signed up for the gym challenge of intermediate difficulty. After the challenge is successful, there is a chance to get rewards. But the corresponding registration fee is a little more expensive, requiring 5,000 alliance coins, which may be difficult for ordinary trainers to accept. But for Heiyu, it is just a small amount of money. If he can fight against the gym leader with the registration fee of 5,000, the experience alone is enough to offset the money spent. Not to mention, there is also a chance to get some gift rewards. Please ask the challenger Heiyu trainer to go to the battle site. Please ask the challenger Heiyu trainer to go to the battle site. The broadcast began to repeat this sentence. Heiyu stood up and walked into the passage on the side. After pushing open several doors in succession, he finally came to an open-air battle site. The entire venue is square and surrounded by towering red walls. This type of gym decoration style is quite consistent with the image of the older generation decades ago. In addition, there are several rows of battle spectator seats, but they seem to be unopened. But it is true. The Kameng gym is not some new gym, but has stood on the land of Hon for hundreds of years. Naturally, it will not lack money and will not rely on selling tickets to make money. Heiyu stood outside the white line of the battlefield, looking at the spectacular scene around him, and felt a sense of emotion in his heart. "Hello, trainer, I am Yasha, the intern gym leader of the Kameng gym." A crisp female voice came from the venue. I saw a young and beautiful girl with cool clothes and beautiful face walked out. The most eye-catching thing about the girl is undoubtedly the bunch of red hair tied back and scattered like a waterfall. "Excuse me, Challenger Kuroyu, how many badges have you collected so far?" Asa is as passionate as she is on the internet. She asked a very straightforward question without beating around the bush. Kuroyu answered without hesitation, 2 already. "Only 2? Alas." Asa said with regret. "So which 2 gyms did you challenge?" Asa continued to ask questions. Kuroyu frowned slightly, already a little reluctant, but still said honestly, "It's Jinjua gym and Kana's gym." Hearing this, Ace's eyes lit up and she murmured, "It's Jinjua Jim? Even Grandpa admires Mr. Kyun Lee very much. It seems that you, little kid, have some skills." Kuroyu silently looked at this carefree woman, talking to herself there. "I've heard on the internet a long time ago that some gyms will judge the strength of trainers based on the number of badges they have. Is it true? Worthy it is a fire attribute gym. As unrestrained as the fire attribute, not at all concealed. Trainer Kuroyu, I heard that the Pokémon you registered is of water attribute, but you are just wishful thinking if you want to defeat my Pokémon by relying on the attribute power. I will let you know what is the fire attribute that is as hot as a volcano." Asha said seriously with a tight face. It seems that even the referee on the side can't stand their gym leader's behavior, so he hurriedly announced the start of the game. In the Kamuan Gym Badge Challenge, there are up to 3 Pokémon that can participate in the game. The upper limit of the Pokémon level is 40. The party that loses the combat ability first is judged as a failure. During the challenge period, the challenger has the right to change Pokémon, but the gym leader Asha does not. Kuroyu looked at the Moon Eevee on the side and nodded secretly in his heart. Then, the gym challenge with gym badges as the stakes officially begins. At the referee's command, Asha was the first to release the Pokémon. "Burn as much as you can, Lava Worm." "Umbreon, it's you." Asha was full of energy, and a flash of white light passed by. A snail-like worm was crawling on the ground, and the flames burning on its body seemed to burn the ground at any time. "Lava Pokémon, Lava Worm. The body is made of magma. If it doesn't move, the body will cool and harden, so it will keep moving around. Umbreon uses burn." Like an internal combustion engine starting, a fierce flame surged out, and the mouth of the lava worm, which had a drop of magma dripping from time to time, spewed out flames with overwhelming momentum. "Umbreon, use Shadow Clone." Umbreon heard the command and instantly split into 2, standing in the left and right corners of the field respectively. "Ah, why is this?" Asha was a little overwhelmed for a while, but after reacting, she hurriedly let the lava worm attack the left side. The sight of a gym trainer made her discover her true identity at once, and Umbreon had no choice but to take the hit and burn. Fortunately, Umbreon's special defense racial value of 130 made it almost unscathed. Even when jumping in the flames, it looked like it was not hurt at all. Chapter 98. Umbreon uses Shadow Ball. Umbreon made a few graceful leaps and moved away from the flames, condensing a dark energy ball. When the ball gathered to a sufficient size, it launched towards Lava Worm. "Lava Worm, block it with primitive power." Asha didn't care about her image as a gym trainer and a woman at all, and made exaggerated movements with her teeth and claws. The lava-like body of Lava Worm was slightly dazzling in the sun, and a primitive energy condensed into stones to collide with the shadow ball. Bang! A puff of smoke dissipated. The two sides were evenly matched. After all, the special attacks of the 2 Pokémon were ridiculously low, and they were not their own moves. "Hehe, not bad, how about trying this move?" Lava Worm uses Turbid Mist. A dirty thick mist spewed out of the body of Lava Worm, gradually spreading towards the Umbreon, looking quite weird. Heiyu smiled slightly and ordered, "Moon Eevee, take this attack." Asha on the opposite side was a little confused, but still shouted enthusiastically, "Lava Worm, keep increasing the power." As the purple mist blew towards the Moon Eevee, the poison attribute attack was indeed well deserved and soon caused damage. And what was very bad was that purple spots appeared faintly on the surface of the Moon Eevee's body. Poison state. Just as Asha was overjoyed in her heart, she secretly sighed that she had good luck and poisoned the enemy with one attack. Heiyu smiled slightly, and the Moon Eevee stared at the lava worm on the opposite side, and soon purple spots appeared on the lava worm's body. Synchronous characteristics. The poisoning, burns, and paralysis states of the Pokémon can be transmitted to the opponent. Asha's poison attribute attack was self-defeating, which was why Heiyu did not order to dodge just now. Umbreon, use Refresh. This is an auxiliary skill learned in the EV form, which can remove abnormal status and make the body refreshed. Combined with the synchronization characteristics, it is a perfect match. As a burst of white light dissipated from the surface of Umbreon's body, the purple spots on the body slowly faded, and the poisoning state disappeared. Instead, Lava Worm was poisoned. "We have to give it a try," Lava Worm used Purgatory. Asha did not feel forced into a desperate situation at all, but continued to command the attack passionately. However, this Purgatory scared Heiyu a lot. This move is a powerful move with a power of 100, and it will definitely burn the enemy. Lava Worm can only learn it through inheritance. Release all your strength, hold on. At this time, the hold skill disc matched with each Pokémon came in handy. It can accurately guarantee the full force attack of Pokémon of the same level under defense. As the flames of the purgatory-like field burned around, they attacked the Moon Eevee from all directions, the flames gathered, and the fire pillars shot up into the sky. The Moon Eevee struggled to support the emerald green protective shield. Sparks flew everywhere, and the warm light representing the fire attribute shone on the entire field. It was a pity that this powerful attack seemed to be completely blocked by the guard, and when the lava worm charged up the flame attack again, it was already a little powerless. The first effort was strong, the second was weak, and the third was exhausted. The toxin gradually invaded the body of the lava worm, and the poison spots on the surface were already very deep. Finally, it lay straight and unconscious, losing its ability to fight. The lava worm lost its ability to fight, and the Moon Eevee won. Seeing this, the referee announced the result of the game without hesitation. What a wonderful battle! The use of skills, the combination of characteristics, I am going to burn up. With a wave of her hand, Yasha untied the tie tied to her hair, and her bright red hair fluttered in the breeze. The next one is you, go, Fire Camel. De Camel. A dull cry sounded, and a lazy-looking camel appeared, with a dull look in his eyes. Heiyu's eyes narrowed slightly, and he thought to himself, it's a bit difficult to deal with, both characteristics are difficult to deal with. In addition to the hidden characteristics, Fire Camel has two common characteristics, namely dullness and simplicity. Dullness is okay, it will not fall into the charming and provocative state. But simplicity is more terrible, this characteristic can make the ability change twice as much as usual. In other words, if Dragon Dance, it can increase speed and attack by 2 levels. Equivalent to double. But fortunately, Fire Camel can learn almost no amplification moves, only one instant amnesia that increases special defense. Heiyu was slightly relieved, but the caution in his eyes still existed. Moon Eevee come back first. Heiyu recalled Moon Eevee, because the energy of the Fire Camel in front of him was at least above level 30. In comparison, Moon Eevee's the level is a little weaker. In addition, the physical strength has been consumed, so it is not suitable for fighting. It's decided to be you, Megalodon. As soon as Megalodon appeared on the field, the body was instantly wrapped by water and suspended in the air. The ferocious expression was enough to make a child cry. Ah, really, it's the annoying water attribute again. Asha wailed, and her words did not hide her dislike for the water attribute at all. The battle between water and fire has always been a hot topic of discussion among most trainers in the Pokémon world. That Black Feather didn't care about these. When the referee announced the start of the game, he immediately launched an attack. Megalodon, Water Jet. The fourfold restraint water attribute move was immediately effective for the Fire Camel, so with just one hit, the Fire Camel was knocked away half of the competition venue. Until the Fire Camel dragged on the ground for several meters, the look in his eyes was still dull. Humph, such a fast speed, it seems to be the acceleration characteristic. We can't lose to him. Stupid Fire Camel, charge flame attack. After hearing the command, the stupid Fire Camel's body instantly surged with flames and covered the whole body, accumulating strength and increasing its own speed. The originally slow stupid Fire Camel instantly jumped out of its original place like a cannonball, and ran towards the Megalodon at an extremely fast speed. Simple characteristic. The charge flame attack doubled the speed. At the same time, the Megalodon's acceleration characteristics are also constantly superimposed. The two sides are staging a speed-up war. Stupid Fire Camel, use smoke spray. The lava in the body is constantly boiling, and as the power is accumulated, a raging fire suddenly pounces on the Megalodon. The Megalodon keeps the water jet state and bites it directly. Heiyu commanded very calmly. The Megalodon was wrapped in water, and a ferocious giant jaw phantom appeared behind it, and the tyranny of the evil attribute was fully revealed at this moment. The water bully Megalodon kept biting the body of the Fire Camel with his sharp and fierce teeth. The Fire Camel was injured instantly, and lava kept flowing out of the wound on the surface. Fight, use the power of the earth. Asha gritted her teeth and commanded. She didn't expect to encounter such a disgusting enemy. Not only was he the water attribute she hated the most, but he also had the acceleration attribute. The Fire Camel with 4 times weak water had no chance of winning at all. As expected, the power of the earth before the defeat did not cause any waves, and was successfully blocked by the Megalodon with a guard. Damn it, why is it the water attribute and the guard skill again? Can't you use an aggressive attack like me? Asha's tactics mainly believe in attacks like aggressive fire. She firmly believes that the burning fire of passion can defeat all enemies. Therefore, she hates Pokémons with water and rock attributes very much, and at the same time, she hates those Pokémons who are good at transformation skills even more. Offense and shield have always been a controversial topic among trainers. Chapter 99. Release your burning emotions, turn defeat into victory, and defeat 3. The coal turtle depends on you. Asha swept away her previous slump, and her high enthusiasm instantly made her excited again. Megalodon, come back. Asha was shocked by Heiyu's action of taking back the Megalodon, but for Heiyu, this battle was already a sure win, so he simply let more Pokémons come out to practice. Iron Claw Lobster, the last stick is left to you. The two Pokémons shook and looked at each other on the field. Asha's ace Pokémon is the Coal Turtle, which is pure fire attribute, but has a defense race value of up to 140 and a speed race value of 20. It can be said to be the two extremes of defense and speed. Heiyu felt the temperature around him rise, and the sun above his head seemed to be even hotter, and he thought to himself, sure enough, it is the sunshine attribute. The other two attributes of the Coal Turtle are White Smoke and Hard Shell Armor. White Smoke will not reduce your opponent's ability. It is a blank feature and is rarely used in battle. Hard Shell Armor can increase the Pokémon's defense and will not be hit in the vitals. It is a very high quality feature. But in comparison, Sunshine is the only true god. Heiyu, who had checked the strategy before coming here, knew that the characteristic of the Coal Turtle was Sunshine. Coal Turtle uses Sunny Day. Iron Claw Lobster, pray for rain. Both sides gave the same order at the same time. Fight for weather. Weather and venue are similar to the field in the game. You cannot take advantage, but you must not let the opponent successfully snatch the weather. The only way to deal with the weather is to use the weather skills as well. The original Sunshine feature has already benefited the Coal Turtle infinitely. If Sunny Day is used again, I am afraid that the attribute advantage will be directly reversed. Sunshine and Sunny Day make the air gradually dry, and the sun shines higher and higher. The rain-seeking technique used by the lobster also showed its effect. Several dark clouds appeared in the center of the field, and small raindrops gradually began to fall. The Pokémons of both sides were trying their best. Although they stood still on the field, their fierce battle could be seen from the weather. However, it seems that the Coal Turtle has the upper hand at the moment. The lobster can only ensure that the small area where it is fighting is not disturbed by the opponent. As for wanting to expand the rain-seeking technique outward, it is very difficult. Sure enough, the opponent's proficiency in sunny days is higher than our rain-seeking technique, not to mention the special sunshine combination. Heiyu's expression did not change, but he was secretly surprised in his heart. Sure enough, those who can become the owner of a gym, even if they look careless on the outside, are actually not simple masters. In that case, lobster, hot water. Heiyu directly changed his tactical strategy and stopped fighting for the weather, because sooner or later he would be suppressed by the opponent. Simply attack directly. Since I can't get the weather, then you can't use it smoothly. Heiyu's idea is that since I don't have it, then you can't have it either, and no one can use the weather to gain an advantage. The boiling hot water suddenly hit the Coal Turtle. Coal Turtle, use that move. Yasha gave a very mysterious order. The Coal Turtle's head and hands and feet instantly retracted into the shell, and began to rotate in place, like a gyroscope. The skill of retracting into the shell and rotating at high speed. The rapid rotation directly knocked the hot water away. Heiyu was not in a hurry and continued to command, Iron Claw Lobster, use Dragon Dance. The Coal Turtle's turtle-like speed could not stop the Iron Claw Lobster from strengthening. After a fierce and mysterious dance, the Iron Claw Lobster finished the dance with strange movements, and the power of the body suddenly increased. Since hot water doesn't work, let's try Rockfall. After Heiyu gave the order, the huge claws of the Iron Claw Lobster suddenly hammered into the ground, and countless stones were controlled to shoot at the Coal Turtle in an instant. Coal Turtle, Flame Wheel. The rock fell and buried the Coal Turtle inside, but as the flame wheel rotated with power, it quickly broke through the pile of stones and rushed towards the Iron Claw Lobster. The Iron Claw Lobster itself resisted the fire attribute, and was good at close combat, so it was not afraid at all. Under Heiyu's command, it directly used the shell blade to attack. The iron claw lobster waved its fist to deal with the coal turtle that was constantly spinning around at high speed and ready to attack at any time. Obviously, Yasha didn't want the coal turtle and the iron claw lobster to fight head-on. After all, the iron claw lobster, which had performed the dragon dance once, was really powerful. Yasha now wanted the coal turtle to delay time. After all, although the dragon dance's amplification is powerful, it also puts a lot of strain on the body. The lobster will only have to wait for itself to consume the energy. Physical strength, you can sit back and enjoy the fruits of your labor. But how could this little trick be hidden from Heiyu? Iron claw lobster, use the water jet to knock him away directly. The coal turtle has been in the state of the flame wheel, so it can't sense the direction of the iron claw lobster's attack at all. It was directly knocked away by the iron claw lobster that was carrying the water and wrapped its whole body. Iron claw lobster, use the shell blade. Heiyu hurriedly gave orders. Now his tactic is to take advantage of the dragon dance's amplification and enhancement and try to end the battle quickly. Yasha is worthy of being the gym leader. She has excellent control over the battle situation and ordered, Coal Turtle uses the jet of flames. Don't let it get close. A column of fire with a sweeping momentum swept the entire venue. The power of this attack is extremely amazing. The entire venue was burned by flames, and the surface was like charcoal. The original yellow ground turned into black and brown. Sure enough, even without using Sunny Day, it still gradually gained the upper hand with the sunlight feature. Heiyu licked his dry lips, and the dry temperature in the air made him sweat. Even if the sunlight feature is not used actively, the passive effect alone is enough to change the temperature between venues. But the iron claw lobster has been tempered in the wild much more than the coal turtle, and its physical perseverance is also very strong. What can a mere temperature do to it? Heiyu continued to give orders, use water jet to get closer, and attack with shell blades. This time, even if the coal turtle used the jet flame, it still did not stop the iron claw lobster from getting closer. It was hit directly by the water jet, but fortunately, it survived with its extremely strong defense ability. After all, although it is double restraint, don't forget the coal turtle, which still has the weather advantage and a super high defense race value of 140. The official power of the water jet is only 40. Even with the blessing of Dragon Dance, the main system, adaptability and mysterious water drops, the effect of this attack is still mediocre. The coal turtle is too tough. But compared to close combat, the iron claw lobster has never been afraid of anyone. Iron claw lobster, shell blade. Coal turtle, iron tail. Iron claw lobster, shell blade. Coal turtle, flame wheel. Iron claw lobster, shell blade. Coal turtle, gyro ball. The two sides fell into endless consumption. The iron claw lobster relied on attribute restraint and various power blessings to suppress the coal turtle. But the coal turtle can resist all with the characteristics of the weather and the super high defense race value. The two sides were deadlocked for a while. Chapter 100. Thanks to all the readers who have read this far. I, Xia, would like to express my gratitude here. This book will soon be tested for the title. Simply put, it is to prepare 5 different titles and covers for the platform to recommend and distribute. Xia, I really can't think of any good title, so I would like to ask for the opinions of all readers here. Welcome to actively propose various titles. Keywords: dark style, realistic, decisive, evil-oriented. In addition, if you have any beautiful Pokémon wallpapers, please help me. Xia, thank you again here. The following is the data of the Pokémon. Iron Claw Lobster. Gender, male. Attributes, water, evil. Level, 36. Features, adaptability, the power of moves with the same attribute as the player will be increased. Mastered skills, high speed star, clamp, stare, bubble, bubble ray, harden, hold, double hit, shoot down, sneak attack, shell blade, provoke. Inherited skills, dragon dance, water jet. Skill CD, pray for rain, tile breaking, substitute, hot water, rock slide, shadow clone, awakening power fire. Item carrying items, mysterious water drop with 10% amplification. Note, the first Pokémon captured during the Black Feather Pirates period, accompanied the protagonist for more than a year, and is a well-deserved ace main force. Megalodon. Gender, male. Attributes, water, evil. Level 34. Features: Speed up. Speed will gradually increase when in combat. Mastered skills: Split, Stare, Rage, Bite, Feint, Gather, Sneak Attack, Water Jet, Malicious Pursuit, Harsh Sound, Bluff, Scary Face, Frozen Teeth, Poisonous Teeth, Crushing. Inherited skills: Spirit Teeth. Skill discs: Hold, Shadow Clone. Items carried: 8% amplified black glasses. Note: the second Pokémon captured during the Black Feather Pirates period, a high attack, high speed assassin, a sea mount. A bully in the sea. Moon EV. Gender: female. Attribute: evil. Level 24. Features: Synchronization, transmits one's own poisoning, paralysis or burning status to the opponent. Mastered skills: Collision, Tail Shaking, Chasing, Helping, Throwing Sand, Round Pupils, Flash of Lightning, Strange Light, Surprise Attack, Malicious Pursuit, Refreshed. Inherited skills: Yawn, Prey. Skill CDs: Guard, Shadow Clone, Shadow Ball. Note: Heiyu is the intended Pokémon for Kunli investment, the team's favorite, a cute little cutie, and the future team's auxiliary shield Pokémon. An Pokémon from the Dark Knight. Dark Crow. Gender: male. Attributes: evil, flying. Level 21. Features: Mischief, can speed up the use of transformation type moves. Mastered skills: Pecking, Scare, Chase, Black Mist, Wing Attack, Dark Night Shadow. Inherited skills: Pecking, Surprise Attack, Feather Perch, Divine Bird Smash. Skill CDs: Hold, Tailwind, Provoke, Shadow Clone. Note: Black Feather received the Pokémon Exchange voucher after the Joey family invested, and went to the official Alliance training to select the Flying Reconnaissance Pokémon, serving as the team's assistant in reconnaissance. Overlord of the Night Sky. The following is the logistics team. Toucan Mrs. Meta bought the egg from the black market and sent it to the Pokémon Field Simulation constant temperature room of the Orange Flower Gym to start her retirement life. Mushroom caught in the wild in the Orange Forest after the rain. Now in the Black Feather team. Enjoy the feeding of Pokémons every day. Mushrooms and poisonous spores are shed every week for Black Feather to use as materials. Floating bubble caught in the wild jungle from Green Town to Fuyan Town. Proficient in 3 weather skills, praying for rain, sunny days, and hail. Can switch between 3 forms of snowy days, sunny days, and rainy days at will. Serves as a weather skill instructor in the Black Feather Pokémon team. Lottie Kappa caught in the tunnel of the underground Dark River. Inherited sweet fragrance, can be used as a means to attract wild Pokémons. Note: dear readers, if there is no Pokémon illustration in the paragraph comment, it means that the system display is invalid. You can check it in the discussion of this chapter at the end of the chapter. Note: Pokémons are divided into levels. Level 1 to 9 Novice Level, Infant Level. Level 10 to 19 Primary Level. Level 20 to 29 Intermediate Level. Level 30 to 39 Advanced Level. Level 40 to 59 Elite Level. Level 60 to 69 Quasi King Level. Level 70 and above King Level.